Anchors and reporters.
Join us on Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9
on KSL News Radio.
Locking in an amazing, crazy low, once-in-a-lifetime deal on your terms has never been easier. Just go to General RV during our Bid and Buy sale, August 16th through the 19th. You have the power to name your own price. Just find your favorite RV, submit your best offer, and get a fantastic deal. To make a bid, go to General RV and ask the front desk associate for a bid sheet. In Draper off I-15. Not all offers will be accepted. Accepted offers do not require purchase. See dealer for details.
People tell you that you're special, but who treats you like you are? At Hercules Credit Union, they not only talk the talk, they walk the walk. Open a checking account, qualify for gold tier status within the first 90 days, and Hercules will deposit $200 into your account. And what does gold tier mean to you? It means ultimate identity theft protection. It means travel benefits with guaranteed lowest available pricing plus travel perks. It means cellular care coverage for accidental damage, water damage, malfunctions, and battery service. Hey, I'm not done yet. Thank you. It means health and wellness savings, gas and grocery gift cards, and college care packages. And yeah, there's more. So start at HerculesCU.com and learn how to qualify for gold tier level checking. HerculesCU.com. Also discover Hercules Certificate of Deposit and how it helps you grow. Hercules Credit Union. Growing stronger together. All accounts insured to $250,000 by NCUA.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors to tell you about our 10-year everything guarantee. Most contractors spout off having great warranties that last forever. But those warranties are always, and I do mean always, riddled with loopholes, exception, fine print, and nonsense. At RGS Exteriors, we cover everything. Parts, labor, material, everything and anything for 10 full years. There's no cost to you whatsoever. No hoops to jump through, no exceptions. Yes, the products we sell, like James Hardy Siding, our windows, gutter covers, come with a 25 to 50-year manufacturer's warranty, just like everybody else. But the truth is, the products almost never fail. It's always the labor and material which is never covered, so you're stuck paying for service calls. For peace of mind, call RGS Exteriors. You'll sleep easy for 10 full years. 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or online rgsutah.com. Gutters, siding, windows, and all exteriors with the 10-year everything guarantee.
Get the Intermountain West Contractor's Advantage. Quality, speed, value for your money, and $1,000 off a roof replacement. Visit iwcroofing.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. And here's Andy Farnsworth.
Slowdowns on I-15 right now, 106 south, 53rd south, the two areas where you might see some delay. UDOT's just pulling up on the side of a crash, top of the 7200 south on-ramp to I-15 in Midvale, but they're so far over the shoulder and almost on the dirt that they're not having any effect on the main flow. South 15 looks great. All earlier slowdowns, Layton and Kaysville, are finally gone. When it comes to trusted, affordable auto care, nobody does it better than Burt Brothers Tire and Service. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather now, sunshine and a high of 96 today, 97 tomorrow. By Wednesday, we could get back up to 100 degrees on Thursday, but it'll be short-lived because it'll start to cool after that when some thunderstorms move in. Right now, it's 77 degrees at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
We are going to be tracking very closely all morning long the situation in Maui. We've got a lot of developments there. We just learned that the Attorney General in Hawaii has launched an investigation, Dave, into the lack of alerts that went out to residents there as they were trying to evacuate. Hawaii has the most robust warning system in the entire world. And those big sirens that they have to warn people about things like, natural disasters and tsunamis, they did not go off.
And when I think of natural disasters in Hawaii, one of the last things I would ever think of, Debbie, is a wildfire. With the amount of, we've, been to Hawaii before, and it never crossed my mind that it could get so dry. It was always so rainy, but they've been dealing with drought conditions, and this wildfire has been devastating. It's 9:06. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are three things Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
We have an absolutely packed show today. We're also going to be covering in the 11 o'clock hour the Unified Police Department calling us this morning to talk about the scheme that cops uncovered to really roll back car odometers. Now the search is on for drivers who think their Outback Subaru, Dave, their Subaru Outback, has 100,000 miles less than it actually has. Okay, cops arrested a 19, a 20, and a 21-year-old, all Utah residents, accusing them of making fake IDs or using fake IDs to buy really, really used cars, roll back the odometers to flip the cars to unsuspecting buyers. What I was shocked about is how many buyers.
Based off the information that we found in the search warrant, we believe that there are between 300 and 600 victims right now.
To be quite honest, Debbie, I'm surprised this isn't more of a problem. The odometers that I have, the ones that aren't digital, yeah, how hard could it be to get in behind, the dash and roll it back? I would think this is a far larger problem than we probably want to admit.
Countdown. 2.
We're reporting almost 100 people now confirmed dead. Those massive fire in Maui. Here's what's under investigation by the Hawaii Attorney General. He wants to know why the 80 sirens meant to blast warnings during disasters sat silent. And there's another failure we got to talk about. The power grid. What was it left on? Now, I just found out this morning, Dave, that Hawaii does not have a formal power shutoff policy. So even if electrical lines don't end up to be the source of this fire, live wires from snapped electrical poles, well, they can kill people who are trying to evacuate, and outrage on the island is growing.
I feel 100% that the county officials and the police and the fire department have blood on their hands. There's no way that those poor people who were stuck in Lahaina did not deserve better communication.
And part of what makes this so difficult, Debbie, is there were times when officials deemed this fire to be out, but then it roared back to life last week. So it was this idea of we have it under control, and then it is, again, back out of control.
Launch countdown. 1.
It's just sickening to think about the search for bodies. I actually read some stories this weekend, Dave, that said they have to do like DNA matches with family members, other family members who've survived, because they cannot tell the identity of the people who they are finding. This is one of the premier travel destinations in the world, and now parts of Maui just destroyed.
Search and rescue teams are marking X's like this on homes to indicate it's been checked for bodies or remains as flames tore through Lahaina.
And Debbie, as we look at the photos, as we look at the videos, it is ash. It is monochromatic, it is grays, it is blacks, and it is devastation.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
And the search for bodies in Maui continues this morning.
Search and rescue teams are marking X's like this on homes to indicate it's been checked for bodies or remains as flames tore through Lahaina.
The thought of that is sickening.
Yeah, the National Guard has been called in, and they're having to go door to door. And as you heard, they have to mark the X over places that have already been searched.
We've heard so many reports of people not knowing what to do in the moment, gridlock traffic, people running to the ocean to get away from the flames. It's all kinds of it just makes me sick to think about folks getting trapped. Here's what one man did.
It was a firestorm. I know what. There was tornadoes of ash the size of charcoal from a barbecue, like being thrown by baseball players. I'm ducking behind walls. There's like 80 people, and the ocean was on fire. So the tide line was on fire, and I had to jump through the water and come up through the fire.
And this ash had built up almost a layer on top of the ocean, and then additional coals and fire was landing on top of the ocean. So it was literally, you have video of the ocean burning. You see the fires on top of the ocean. It was such a strange sight, and people were jumping into the ocean to get away from the smoke and the danger.
Did you see the boats burning?
Yes.
The boats burning. It just when I first saw that coming up on social media feeds, I thought it was like a movie set. I had no idea the magnitude of this fire when we got off the air last week. When I think it was midweek, and then I was on social media, and I thought it was a movie being filmed in Hawaii. And as I started to research, I was like, this happened so quickly.
Kaveli Anna, aloha. I'd like to share some of my thoughts about this horrific situation that the people of Lahaina are enduring. And it's still a very dangerous situation. I understand that. Live wires, little fires, damaged structures. You have smoke, you have fumes, soot, and ash, all toxic, by the way.
Do we know how many homes? I thought I heard it was like 1,900 homes have been lost. It may be more or less than that, but it was hundreds.
Yeah, I saw some estimates that said it will take over $8 billion to rebuild.
We know that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints reported, I believe, five members. 4 from one family had been lost in this fire. And here's a local church pastor in Hawaii, in Maui, talking about her concerns, and that is for the people.
And I told him, I said, it's just a building. I want to make sure that our congregation is safe, our community, the people are safe. And it may sound cliche, but it really, we can rebuild. The church has a history of rebuilding itself, and we will. But my concern really at the moment was the people, that making sure that everybody was safe.
And despite all of the damage and the lost homes, the thousands of lost homes and destruction, 96 people so far have been confirmed dead, with still hundreds missing.
And outrage, frustration over the evacuation plan that really did not happen, really starting to mount in Hawaii.
I feel 100% that the county officials and the police and the fire department have blood on their hands. There's no way that those poor people who were stuck in Lahaina did not deserve better communication.
There are 2 big reasons why that guy who's trying to get out of Maui said that. 2 big reasons. One has to do with the alerts that didn't happen, and the other has to do with the power grid. We're diving into those next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Hi, it's Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Why should you start your day with us?
We have decades of news experience between us.
And we take your trust seriously.
Come here for news tomorrow, 5 to 9.
On KSL.
Soon, this hot summer will give way to shorter days, beautiful colors, sunshine that seems a little dimmer. And before we know it, we're back to school shopping and cheering for our favorite football team. As the season changes, so will the news and weather. And we'll be here to cover it all. Plus, BYU sports coverage and traffic updates to get you to the game on time. KSL News Radio, your year-round companion for news.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. We have some super exciting news. We're thrilled to announce our brand new store in Tooele. We have been hoping to expand to Tooele for years and finally found the perfect spot. In the heart of the city, Alpine is located just north of Walmart off Main Street. This store will be just like our others. We offer massive selection of home medical supplies. Do you need a CPAP? We've got it. Power scooter? Yep, you're in the right place. Need assistance in your home? We'll get you all set up. Keep your expectations high. We really do have the best staff in the state. You should know we accept most major insurances and can work directly with your provider to get you the care you need. We'll be ready when you need us, so come on by anytime. We're excited to see you in Tooele.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Watch parties aren't what they used to be.
Welcome to today's matinee.
Ever since we got Xfinity, my little sister and her friends can easily stream all their favorite stuff.
We'll start with 2 episodes of Top Chef, then Chopped.
When I was a kid, we'd worry about buffering. Now they just worry about what's on the charcuterie board.
Enjoy these fine meats and cheeses.
These are just cut up hot dogs and spray cheese. Indeed. The best way to stream your favorites is on the Xfinity 10G network. Now through September 6th, new customers can get gig internet on the Xfinity 10G network made for streaming for just $25 a month for 2 years when you add Xfinity Mobile. Plus, there's no annual contract and get Wi-Fi equipment included. Get way more into what you're into when you stream on the Xfinity 10G network. Go to xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires PayPal bill and an autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity internet. After promo, regular supply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary. Stream Top Chef on Peacock.
Two friends taking pictures of the rising full moon on a summer night.
Two teenage kids doing what teenage kids do.
When a stranger with a gun and a death wish changed everything.
It was violent, it was senseless, and I will never understand it, I will never accept it.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and unfortunately, we're all too familiar with stories about how violence shatters lives. But what we rarely see is how they are rebuilt. In a new podcast, The Letter, we relive tragedy, but only so we can hear the rest of the story. The struggle to reclaim lives, the realities of grief, and the possibilities of forgiveness.
I believe in miracles. Sometimes I thought, there are no miracles. Yeah, there are, and this is a big one.
Follow The Letter at theletterpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, primary ballots go out this week, including for registered Republicans who will vote in the 2nd Congressional District race. Second, Bluffdale City is trying to raise property taxes to pay for a full-time fire department and police force, but a potential referendum might sink the proposal. And third, a large amount of supplies collected by the UVU Pacific Islanders Initiative will be flown to Maui today to help in the relief effort following the fires. Right now, 77 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top national story.
In 15 minutes, we're going to take a live phone call from one of those students at Utah Valley University is collecting items for the folks in Maui. Just a quick update. They're now saying a total of 27 structures were destroyed in Lahaina. This was spreading. That fire was spreading. They now say at a mile a minute.
Wow.
So, yeah. It's now 85% contained. But if you've seen any of the photos, the videos out of that area, you know why people are just devastated. 96 people dead so far. And there's 2 big reasons, and we want to talk about this here, Dave. 2 big reasons why this guy who's escaping Maui, when he was interviewed by ABC News, said this.
I feel 100% that the county officials and the police and the fire department have blood on their hands. There's no way that those poor people who were stuck in Lahaina did not deserve better communication.
And part of what is so devastating and frustrating to these folks is initially they thought they had this wildfire under control. And then these big winds came in and stoked it back up, and the devastation, we're talking 1,000-degree temperatures, 80-mile-an-hour winds.
I think it was like at edge of a hurricane, wasn't it?
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't like it just got windy one day.
No.
It was on the edge of a hurricane, so they had some warning that these winds would kick up. But let's get into why residents are frustrated, why the Attorney General of Hawaii is now saying that there's going to be a full-scale investigation into what went wrong. First thing is that, as I said, that fire was spreading at a mile a minute, but they have this massive siren warning system. It is the largest siren warning system in the entire world. This is all in the Wall Street Journal, by the way, if you want to read more about it. They did an excellent job kind of breaking this down. Maui itself has 80 outdoor sirens. Hawaii in total has 400. So Hawaii is, of course, made up of several islands. Was it 5 islands? You have to check me on that.
As far as the large islands.
But so Maui, you just think of Maui, it's got 80. Okay, that's where this fire happened on Maui, 80 outdoor sirens. So these put in place to warn people about the possibility of natural disasters bearing down on them. A tsunami is coming. They have had tsunami warnings, and there's just loud blasts in case you're not by your cell phone and you're not by a television, you can hear the alert. Well, they sat silent. Those sirens sat silent.
Are they automated? Does somebody have to push the big red button?
They just sat silent. I don't know if
It doesn't matter why they were silent. The fact is they were
it's
silent.
like people are trying to get out and they're jumping in the ocean, and leaving their cars and they'll have to leave their friends behind, and their friends are dead, their family members are dead. The thing is that this should be like the best warning system in the world, and it just didn't warn anybody. So then emergency managers, according to the article in the journal, they said that there were layers of warnings that were activated, like mobile phone alerts and messages on television stations and radio stations. But think about this. The fire was moving so quickly, they admit it likely impeded cell phone reception.
Mm.
So that's why those sirens would be so important. We rely on our cell phones for alerts, like we get the Amber Alert, or we've had a couple of different alerts to our cell phones here. But if the cell phone transmission is impeded, then you're just sitting there. You have no idea. You see smoke, but you don't know how fast it's going to be, at your door.
Yeah.
You don't know where the flames are going.
And this is very unique in the sense that Utah has none of this, right? There's no physical standing siren that
I think there's
would
one
go
in
off.
Tooele. We'd have to check. I think I think there's one in Tooele because they've had had the incinerator out there. We'd have to check on that. I think there's one in Tooele County. Not that I've ever heard it, but I think there is one out there for a different reason. Because the Tooele Army Depot was responsible for incinerating old warheads. But we could check on that. That's a great question, Dave. Like, do we have some sort of a siren system out that way?
We rely here, and you'll hear this on KSL. We have a warning system and an EMS system that we do testing through. But cell phones, obviously, we've received Amber Alerts, and we've had problems with that. Even with the Amber Alert system coming through the cell phones, being incomplete messages.
Confusing information.
Confusing information, coming extremely late. They try to geofence it. There are all sorts of problems with alert systems through cell phones. And as you had mentioned, if you've got natural disasters and power outages, then that's not guaranteed.
The other issue that has people so frustrated there is the power grid. The questions now is whether the power grid was shut off or was it left on and potentially able to fuel the fire. And I've been just going in depth out there in the newsroom to investigate as best I could about what Hawaii has in place and compare it to Utah. So we know that Hawaii, there was those 60-mile, you said up to 80-mile-an-hour winds due to that hurricane. I don't know that the hurricane actually hit the island. It was kind of on the outskirts, but it was enough to just whip up the fire. We do know there was no lightning in the area. And the experts are saying it's unlikely that there was campers, although I guess that could be a possibility of starting campfires in 60-mile-an-hour winds, but you would hope not. But so the direction really has gone in this way. Whether Hawaiian Electric should have or did cut off the power to the West Maui area as these conditions were whipping up. Hawaii does not have a formal shut-off of the electrical grid policy. They don't have that. And there were the experts, one expert who used to serve on the Public Utilities Commission there, they oversee the power company. They said there were red flag days, several days in advance, but that there was no plan, at least during her service on the Utility Commission, no plan of having an emergency shutoff protocol in place. So the question is, if they didn't shut off those power lines, can those create more hazards for people who are trying to evacuate because power lines are snapping in fires? And of course, if the electrical line, a live wire hits the ground, then it could even fuel the fire more and become a hazard for people who are trying to get out, and they could potentially get shocked. And then so that we don't know right now for sure if Hawaiian power shut off or electric shut off the power grid. But I do know this. Rocky Mountain Power here in Utah, which many of us, get our electrical service from, they have a very robust shut-off policy. It's posted on their website, and I actually spoke to a spokesperson for Rocky Mountain Power, Jonna Whitesides, just seconds before I ran in here for the show.
Basically have what we call areas of concern, where we've identified these kind of high-risk areas where we have transmission and distribution lines, so going to the customers. And we basically have pre-identified those. We've worked with our operations field crews. They know where they are. They would know how to go and turn them off if we needed to de-energize. And then we have a whole messaging process and campaign as far as alerting the customers if we were to do that. And typically, this process would start about 5 days out as more of kind of okay, we see that these winds are possibly coming in.
And I think what he's speaking to, in part, this isn't a light switch. It's not as easy as just turning the power off in the master switch, that it requires a crew, and they have to go to some of these satellite locations and what does he say, de-energize, something along those lines. But it is a very, very large system. And to your point, Debbie, the fact that they don't have this organized, or they didn't have a formal shutdown process, it's not just hitting the off button. It's much more difficult and complicated than that.
Well, I also found out in my conversation with Rocky Mountain Power this morning that smoke, the black smoke that you see bellowing from the flames, it's like it's like a conductor. It can conduct electricity, so that could create a spark.
The smoke is?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
So you might have a fire, flames that are far away from power lines, but the black smoke can create, when it hits a power line, can create a spark. Then that causes an issue because the spark hits the ground, and now the wildfire is off and running in a different direction. I had about a 5-minute conversation with the spokesperson from Rocky Mountain Power this morning just before the show, and we are going to play that live during the show today, because there was so much more that he told me about how the program works, when the program is triggered, and also the warning, how it gets out to the residents if there was a problem with wildfire or fire or high winds.
And just to be clear, we don't believe that it was electricity that started these fires. We think that this came from lightning, volcanic activity.
No, at least the Wall Street Journal is reporting there was no electricity or no lightning in the area. So it wasn't. They don't think it was lightning. They're looking into whether the electrical grid somehow could have caused it. It could be one, but it could take, Dave, this could take so long. This could take so long, especially if it started in a remote area where there's no cameras, maybe no witnesses. That's just one of many angles that we're going to continue to follow throughout the day as we get more information here at KSL News Radio. Straight ahead, lots of local fundraisers going on to help victims in Hawaii, including one right here at Broadcast House, and we'll talk about them next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour. A local group is getting ready to fly supplies over to Maui. The UVU Pacific Islander Initiative says they got so many donations they actually had to stop taking them for a time. Hula Kalua Santiago is originally from Maui. She told KSL TV what it's been like to see the island on fire from so far away.
I can't imagine, not being able to find my family. And then not being able to do anything.
The group is collecting donations through the end of today before flying supplies over to the island. Pet owners are told to avoid parts of the Virgin River from St. George to the Arizona border because of toxic algae blooms. This comes after one dog died and 3 others got sick. Dr. Hannah Bonner with the Utah Department of Environmental Quality says there are risks that can be avoided.
So the main risk of exposure with pets is if they actually ingest some of this harmful algae material.
So we're
The
talking
best
to
thing
the
pet owners can do is,
fundraiser,
the
local
dog
fundraiser,
has been exposed to an area, wash the animal off right away so they can't lick algae material off their fur, and then get immediate veterinarian help if you're seeing any of these kind of symptoms.
She said the warning will likely remain in place the rest of the summer. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Today is National Navajo Code Talkers Day. It's a day to recognize the contributions of Navajo Marines during World War II, who helped encode and transmit messages using a Navajo language-based code. The code was never broken by Japanese forces in the Pacific and was a major asset to the U.S. Marine Corps during the war. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up just 0.97. We're at 35,282. Coming up, highs reaching near triple digits for the next few days. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:33.
What do you need to hear in the morning to feel ready for the day?
Important news that happened overnight, the traffic you'll hit on the roads.
You'll be ready for your day with us.
Join Utah's Morning News 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
If you have a family member that is struggling with addiction, whether they're currently in recovery or they need help right now, Renaissance Ranch wants to help you provide that family support because they know that when families are involved, when loved ones are part of the process, the results and the research has shown the chances of a positive outcome are greatly enhanced. So Renaissance Ranch wants to offer you a couple of opportunities to be that support. They offer free weekly online classes. They're open to the public, and you can come and attend as many of these as you wish, but they will teach you some of the necessary skills, and if you have questions, not quite sure what to do, that's what these classes do. You can hear several stories of from spouses, from parents, and understand that you are not alone in this. Renaissance Ranch wants to provide these things for you and to your family. RenaissanceRanch.com is the website. You can learn much more about these free online classes. Again, they're open to the public. Learn more at RenaissanceRanch.com.
At Fisher Investments, our clients know we have their backs.
How do your clients know that?
Because Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, the highest standard for a financial advisor. It means we're there for our clients and always put their interests first.
So wait, you do it because you have to?
No, we do it because it's the right thing to do. Our clients trust us with their retirement savings, and we know how important that responsibility is. So we take the time to really get to know them.
Get to know them how?
We make sure we understand their unique goals, finances, health, family, and lifestyle so we can tailor their portfolio to their specific needs. Our goal is to help them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Sounds like a big responsibility. You must make big commissions then, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We have one single transparent fee that's structured so we do better when our clients do better. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you are switching to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Premium checking from America First Credit Union is so much more than a regular checking account. It's a saves you money, makes life easier, always has your back account. Because it's absolutely loaded with fantastic benefits and features. In fact, it comes stocked with so much awesome stuff. It was voted Best Perks by Money.com. So make sure you're rocking more than a checking account. Head to America First and apply for the exclusive protection, perks, and paybacks of premium checking today. Subject to membership eligibility and conditions. Federally insured by NCUA. Since 1939, America First has been helping people pursue their financial goals. And as we have, we've become one of the largest credit unions in the country. The reason why is simple. It's because every day we do our very best to help each person, family, and business we serve to realize their individual dreams and achieve financial well-being. True to our name, we always strive to put our members and employees first. So come join us and let us put you first. America First Credit Union. Federally insured by NCUA.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. And here's Heather Kelly.
Slowdowns now on I-215 to East Belt. This is heading northbound
between 4500 South and 3300 South. We do have construction in that area and lane restrictions, so that typically slows people down. No problems, though, on I-15 or the West Side Belt and 201 freeways. How do you know if you're getting the best deal on employee benefits? Don't unless you get free quotes from every insurance company every year. Visit shopmyplan.com to get free quotes. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather now. Today's high 96 degrees. Temps stick around in the upper 90s till we get into 100 on Thursday. We'll break that triple digit, or at least it looks like it. And then we start to cool off a little bit as some storms move in. Right now, 79 degrees at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
David Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
Maui needs our help, and really pleased that Bonneville is stepping up. We're part of course, Bonneville, and so is KSL TV, The Arrow, FM 100, KSL Sports, all getting together to help raise money with a campaign, and 100% of the donations will go to those in Maui who need it. So if you want to help, there's a couple of ways you can do that. One is you just go to kslnewsradio.com. There's a yellow donate rectangle. It says donate to help Maui on the top left side of our KSL News Radio webpage. You can find it there. And a lot of folks here at Broadcast House have been sharing it on their social media pages as well. It's on my Facebook page. It's on our David Dujanovic Instagram page. I know a lot of reporters are posting it too, so you can easily just find it there. So important to help. So many of us have enjoyed the Hawaiian Islands as a vacation spot, and now Maui is, 2,700 structures burned to the ground, 100 people almost dead. And they're still searching for bodies.
And part of what has made these wildfires so destructive, because there's really three main wildfires that have happened across Maui, but it's where they happened. And Lahaina is really one of the largest and most populated, densely populated parts of Maui, from my understanding, and it has absolutely been one of the worst natural disasters and as far as deaths go in U.S. history.
Mm-hmm. It is the deadliest wildfire in 100 years in modern U.S. history. You'd said earlier, Dave, because I reported that they weren't sure if it was the result of a lightning storm. And some of the articles I've read said there wasn't a lightning storm in the area, but you'd said, you saw that CBS News was reporting something different.
Yeah, they again, we don't know yet. There are three different locations, and they are not close to each other. So Lahaina, Upcountry, Kihei, these are not close together. So it may have been volcanic activity in one, electricity in another, lightning, or who knows what it could have been, but there's several things still being investigated.
It was traveling, the wildfire was traveling at one point a mile a minute. Hula Kalua Santiago, a student with Utah Valley University, live on the line. Good morning.
Hi, aloha kako.
Oh, so are you from Maui?
Yes, and my family is from Maui as well, and throughout Hawaii.
Oh, we're so sorry about what's happening. How are they? Are they okay?
Thankfully, my personal family is doing okay. I just have one sister-in-law's mother who is still stuck in Lahaina, but so far she's alive and well, as good as she can be.
How are they describing things to you right now?
It's like a war zone. Really the best description that they can put it. It's like a war zone, and it's scary. The scary movies we see where people have nothing, it's exactly like that, and if not worse, because they're living through it.
It's so devastating. Are you in charge of this wonderful effort at UVU to get supplies to your friends, family, and everyone else affected by this in Maui?
I am in charge of our Utah County area. That just so happened to take off as well as it did.
So talk about it. What are you guys doing, and how can we help?
So this really just started because I have an aunt who works for United Airlines, and she was able to, I'm not really sure how, but work something out to have an air cargo flight go out to Maui. And she's really been the one to be our ground person to make sure our connections are good and that we get them to trustworthy people on the island and, straight to our people in Lahaina who really need it. And so she just sent out a call that she was sending a shipment and encouraged people to bring donations. And, the night after the fire, I just couldn't sleep. And I came into work here at UVU, and my director and I, the first thing we said to each other was, let's do something for Lahaina. And we both were like, yes. And we just sent out the call on Instagram, and that just took off. Everyone was sharing, and people were calling each other, talking about it. And so for the past couple of days have been very busy collecting donations, organizing them, sorting through them, but also trying to stay up to date with what our Maui people need. And yeah, that's pretty much what we've been doing so far, trying to find all those things and send items that are, that they need, and to not have our items be more like of a nuance.
What is the greatest need right now? What are you hearing?
The greatest need right now are really just personal hygienic things. So like sunscreen, chapstick, hair ties, combs. My auntie, she lost her home, and her sister and their kids, the kids had no underwear. So brand new, those personal items, feminine hygiene, and things to help them keep cool. In Lahaina, it's very, very hot. And so whether it be like something to, like a shawl, a light shawl that they could use to cover them, or maybe some face wipes. Those are some of the essential things, and some things to help with air inhalation, because we're seeing now that people are coughing nonstop, and those effects are catching up to them from being in smoke for too long.
Hula Kalua Santiago is really spearheading. I know a lot of people are involved but you're doing such a great job for people in Maui. When can we drop items off, and where do we take them?
So our drop-off here at UVU, we had to actually close it because of the overwhelming amount of donations. We actually filled 3 U-Hauls and 3 personal trailers that we had to ask and call friends yesterday. And we have another U-Haul that we have to fill with all the stuff that we still have to pack. But we do have some people taking donations in Lehigh at 2811 W Fox Hunters Loop. But we are only taking new items, again, just to keep up with, the influx of things, and so that our Maui people aren't, just left with things that they can't use, and it takes up space whereas people can probably be there. We also have a few. We have an allotted time at the United Airlines cargo parking lot where you can drop off on Tuesday, August 15th, between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Oh. But I do encourage people that if they come, to have things sorted as best as they can, and if they can, to please bring new items. We do not want to, have anyone give more than they can give.
Right.
So United Airlines cargo parking lot.
Okay.
Tuesday, August 15th. Yeah.
At the airport. All right. Hula Kalua, Santiago, we are going to compile all this amazing information, all the great work that you and others at Utah Valley University are doing. We'll put that at kslnewsradio.com. Post it to our social media sites as well, because I know Utahns we love to help when people are in desperate need, and obviously the people in Maui right now could use just about everything. 2,700 structures gone, burned. It's desperate.
And if you're unable to give in that way to UVU, then Bonneville here at our station, we have the Bonneville Maui Strong Fire Relief Fund. 100% of the money that we receive is going to go to the Hawaii Community Foundation. That's a nonprofit directly serving Maui. You can donate at kslnewsradio.com.
Dave and Dujanovic. Before Dave and Debbie get started each day, this station is all news all morning.
And later today, we follow up on those stories as you drive home.
Get important news all morning and all afternoon.
Here on KSL News Radio.
Power outages happen year-round, and they're always unexpected. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and some people have medical equipment that needs to stay on, or maybe you don't want the hundreds of dollars of food in the freezer to spoil. Regardless of the reasons, Any Hour Services can help with a backup generator. Now, a lot of people think that backup generators cost thousands of dollars, but we have packages that'll run the essentials and start at less than $2,500. That includes the generator, the connections from the generator to the house, and the installation. We also carry and install larger generators that can run the whole house and kick on automatically when the power goes out. Of course, those cost more, but if you call right now, you can save $1,000 on any standby generator purchase over 9,000 watts. A licensed electrician from Any Hour Services will walk you through the process and show you what options are available. And if you need it, we have flexible financing options available, even if you've been told no in the past. To schedule a free estimate, call Any Hour Services today. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
It's easy to think all money managers are pretty much the same, but at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different? How? You sell high commission investment products, right?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission-based investment products.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Nope, never at Fisher. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in our client's best interest. It's the highest standard of care for a financial advisor.
How do you know what's in their best interest?
We get to know our clients and then tailor a portfolio based on their goals and needs.
But you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, you really do look out for your clients.
That's because our top priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. It might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss.
Hi, friends. Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails with feedback from customers. Here's one. Dear Dan, I just had the best experience ever. I bought a computer from Shane at your State Street store. I asked several what I thought were really stupid questions. Shane was super courteous and made me feel comfortable through the whole process. People need to understand how important it is to support a local company, especially when your experience is so good. PC Laptops really does love me. Signed, Satisfied. I love hearing feedback like that. It really just gives me the chills. It's the whole reason why I got into the computer business in the first place. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop, and they start at only $29 a month. And it comes with a lifetime warranty. That means if anything goes wrong, we're going to take care of you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. At PC Laptops, we really do love you.
This is the year to go see Utah Symphony and Utah Opera. All shows have just gone on sale at the best prices you'll see this year. Get tickets for your favorites at usuo.org.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, the UVU Pacific Islander Initiative is working to get donations to Maui to help people impacted by the wildfires. Second, a warning for pet owners. Parts of the Virgin River between St. George and the Arizona border are contaminated with toxic algae blooms. Third primary ballots go out this week, including for registered Republicans who will vote in the 2nd Congressional District race. Right now, let's check our temperature downtown. It's 79 degrees. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
We caught this headline from CNN that Americans are pulling out of their 401k plans at an alarming rate, and actually tapping into their 401k accounts because of financial distress. So and the Bank of America has been compiling this data, and so that's how they know that y'all have been borrowing money from your 401k, or taking money out, borrowing it, but then not repaying it if you leave the company.
Yeah, the 401k is so tempting. It's so tempting to tap into, especially if you're going through some hardships, because it's just a big chunk of cash that you've been saving for years that technically is unavailable till you're nearly 60 years old. But it's just sitting there. And when you have an emergency medical situation or a car breaks down, you look at that money and you think, I've just got to tap into it. But the problem is, if you tap into it, not only do you have to pay taxes on it, which is understandable, there's early withdrawal fees.
Well, that's if you don't pay it back, right?
Well, you can borrow against it,
right?
Is one thing, or you can just take
bail.
money out,
right? Just bail on it. I wonder when you should take out a 401k loan, when you should not take out a 401k loan. So we're going to get with an expert in just a moment. I know you had some questions, Dave, about the penalties if you just take the money and bail on the 401k and what the penalties are, how much you end up paying in taxes. But they have tracked this increase. It's up like 36%. I would imagine that this has to do with where the economy is at. If you're paying more for everything from groceries to gas, maybe you're buying a home and you want to put a larger down payment on it, so you borrow against your 401k, which you can do to purchase a home. But then you also have the 401k loan payment as well on top of the home payment, the house payment. So there's lots of layers to borrowing. Shane Stewart, DMBA certified financial planner. Hopefully you can help us walk through when should we be borrowing from our 401k, and when should we not be borrowing from it?
Yeah, it should be a rare instance that you do borrow. I usually consider a loan from your 401k somewhat of a last resort after you've exhausted all other options. And the reason being is because, like you correctly identified, that you're not necessarily getting out of a payment. You're just shifting the payment to something else. You will have to pay that payment along with other things. And then the loss, depending on how long you have the money out, what the markets did while that money was out, you could lose quite a bit in lost return, money that wasn't invested and working for you. So it's usually a last resort that you want to take a look at a 401k loan.
What about a strict withdrawal? When am I able to just take money out of that 401k, and then what kind of penalties are associated with that?
Yeah, typically, if you're over the age of 59 and a half, you could take a regular distribution from your 401k. No penalties. It is taxable as regular income, but no penalties for that. If you take it before 59 and a half, there's an additional 10% penalty along with the taxes. There are many 401ks that's a little more paternalistic, and they won't let you, if you're an active employee and contributing to your 401k, they won't let you take a regular distribution before age 59 and a half. But regardless, if you are able to do that, you have to factor in not only probably up to about 20% in tax, but another 10% in early withdrawal penalty if you're not over 59 and a half.
So go ahead, Dave.
Oh, how does that differ from a hardship withdrawal?
Yeah, great question about hardship withdrawals, because that's usually where people's minds go next. We're looking for money. A loan, is that an option? A regular distribution, is that an option? If it is not, you may take a hardship distribution, but you have to prove that you're in a hardship. Things like excessive medical bills, first-time purchase of a home, and you actually have to submit receipts and documentation to show you're really in a hardship and that you do qualify for one of those. There are about a half a dozen things that you can qualify for a hardship. Then what that does is if you do qualify for the hardship distribution, you take it as a regular distribution without the 10% penalty. But however, it is a little bit difficult to make sure you document and show that you actually are in a situation where this really is your last resort.
I think the reason 401k loans, just going back to the idea of a loan, is attractive to folks is because the interest rate is so low. And if you can get your brain wrapped around this, it's when you're paying the interest back, you're paying it back to yourself, right? Because your company may be charging you 3 or 4 or 5%, but that's going back into your 401k account, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, and that's the lure of a 401k loan. I hear people say, "Well, I'm paying myself back in interest." Well, in a way, you kind of are, but it's kind of like saying I'm taking money out of a different pocket to put into my 401k. Interest is usually earned from someone else. This really isn't interest.
Not from yourself.
It's really just paying back plus some.
Yeah. Well, thanks for helping us dispel that myth,
Yeah.
maybe.
What does that interest rate typically look at? So say I take out $10,000 in a loan. What am I paying back? It's the $10,000 plus what percentage of interest?
Yeah, usually most 401ks will try to keep that rate in line with other competitive markets, just so that if they make it too low, it almost gives an incentive for people to take a loan, and then it could be detrimental later in their retirement. So most will take a look at the prime rate and do prime rate plus a small amount, maybe 0.5% or so. So you could be talking still about 6.5% on a 401k loan. So although it's probably lower than you're able to get, especially if this is your last resort, it's still up there as far as rates go.
Shane Stewart, a certified financial planner with DMBA, thanks for giving us your insights on 401k loans and taking out 401ks, making withdrawals, as more and more Americans, it appears from reporting at CNN, are taking out their 401ks, whether it's taking it out totally and using the money, or they are taking out a loan.
Well, and in addition to that, Debbie, the number of hardship withdrawals skyrocketed in those first 3 months. It's up 36%. And those hardship withdrawals, those aren't easy to get to. You do have to provide a lot of documentation. I thought I might qualify for one of those when my wife had a terrible knee injury and we had a ton of medical bills. But ultimately, we didn't qualify for the hardship withdrawals. So it is not just, hey, this is what I want to do. It is quite complicated.
So if you're struggling with debt, we got to have Shane back on and ask him, if it's not a 401k loan, what then? How do you consolidate it so you can better manage the mounting debt? We'll do that later this week.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen on the KSL News Radio app and in your car at 102.7 FM. KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour, a local group getting ready to send supplies to Maui after they got so many donations they had to stop taking them. The UVU Pacific Islander Initiative planning to fly the supplies later today. Hula Kalua Santiago is originally from Maui, and she told KSL TV, even though they are far from home, they want to do their part.
The next best thing we can do is really rally together, bring our resources together to help as best as we can.
The group is taking donations through the end of the day at the university's Fulton Library. The Saratoga Springs Temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was dedicated over the weekend by President Henry B. Eyring of the First Presidency. This is the 179th temple for the church. In Utah, there are 10 additional temples under construction or soon to be dedicated. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Michigan officials investigating an apparent fighter jet malfunction at a local air show over the weekend after one of the show's aircraft appeared to explode in midair. ABC's Stephanie Ramos has more.
On Sunday afternoon, the MiG-23 fighter jet was performing in the Thunder over Michigan air show. The plane going by, then suddenly a pop and pilots ejecting with their parachute.
That's ABC's Stephanie Ramos. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up just a little bit, about 16 points right now. The NASDAQ, though, up 86 points on the day. And our KSL weather, looks like we're going to see some hot weather, at least the first part of this week. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
We have enough people running around Broadcast House at 4 in the morning to field a football team.
Producers, reporters, the traffic team, and us.
This is Tim and Amanda.
Join us each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL. Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country. And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Tim and Amanda, Utah's Morning News.
Trust is more important in our business, Tim, than it's ever been in my lifetime, in all of my many years of being here at KSL, because there's so much misinformation out there. And there's so much information that is heavy laden with opinion. When you come to us in the morning, what you get is the news. You get what's happening without a lot of spin or opinion and without any misdirection. That's just the pure, simple thing that you get.
When you talk about the misinformation that's out there, which there is, sometimes those stories just change from one morning to the next. And so hopefully you feel like each day as new information becomes available or we learn new things, this was certainly true during the pandemic, this is the place where we're going to share that information with you and talk about the things that are going to most affect your life.
Wake up with Utah's Morning News with Tim and Amanda between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's High Yield Savings Certificates. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, no slowdowns right now across the Wasatch Front. We've got good speeds on I-15 both directions throughout Utah, Salt Lake, Davis, and Weber counties. You'll also have a good commute if you're starting now out of Tooele County on SR 36 and I-80, as well as on I-80 through Parley's Canyon to and from Park City. Fill up your bucket list in Box Elder County. History, recreation, and wildlife, along with excellent dining and shopping await you. Find out more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, hot and dry today and tomorrow. Highs in the upper 90s. Thursday's high could reach 100 degrees. And we'll see cooler temperatures with a chance of thunderstorms on Friday and into the weekend. And right now, 81 degrees and sunny at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic.
The president of the Utah Farm Bureau arrested after police say he was caught on video backhanding a farm worker while that farm worker was asking for his back pay. And then police also say video showed that he told him to shut up in Spanish. It was all captured on, I think it was cell phone video. The farm workers' day were gathered around explaining that they needed their pay. And then it escalated. One got smacked. The president of the Utah Farm Bureau was arrested. There was video of that. KSL 5 TV had that video last week. And that really turns out to be just the beginning of this story.
Yeah, and Debbie, what was so concerning about this as you're watching this is one of the leaders in the farming community. And listen, scuffles happen, and there's disagreements. But when it becomes assault, you can discuss and you can be passionate about it and you can get angry. But once you start hitting people, that crosses a line and it becomes criminal.
Well, they wanted their back pay. According to the police sent us information, according to this affidavit, they hadn't received their past 4 paychecks. And then when they went to his farm where they work and confronted him about not being paid, there was this verbal altercation. And then that's when it escalates. So yeah. So they've got the call now to 911. They have the video. Let's let Mike Anderson of KSL5 TV pick up the story, and then he is going to join us on the line and walk us through what is going on right now with this case.
It was just this past Tuesday, a group of workers gathered to confront Ron Gibson about multiple paychecks they say they're owed. One of them taking this video. He says, I've got to pay rent, got to pay the bills. My family has to eat. I also have to eat. There's a bit of back and forth, but at one point, Gibson seems to become irritated with one of the workers. You just run your mouth? You just speak because you're speaking like a tonto, a dummy? Later, Gibson starts to explain. I told you guys this year, one of the most difficult that's ever happened in the world, in talking about the farming conditions. He adds that he gave them the option over how often they wanted to get paid and says he has the checks in his desk. But as a worker apparently pipes up again, this happens. 10 of the workers came to talk with me today. Lenny Cruz, who says he was backhanded by Gibson in the face, says the 14 of them also live with the smell of feces and urine from an apparent over-full septic tank. And Baltazar Escalon, he says what gets him frustrated is that they work from morning to sundown, and Ron can go on trips and have adventures, but these guys don't even have money to eat.
Joining right now, the show, Mike Anderson. Mike, what an incredible story. I mean, I think one of the things that stood out to me most was that these workers, they called the cops. They called 911 and reported this.
Yeah, and I think, they expected to get some kind of pushbacks, which is why they kind of recorded this video. There are actually 2 of them that recorded videos. We showed the better one, but, not sure if they expected the assault, but it ended with them saying, sorry, thanks for the work. But at one point, one of them called police, obviously. But yeah, the interesting thing is, it's all kind of concerning, but maybe the more concerning part, as you guys mentioned, is the living conditions and the missing pay. And that part of the investigation is really just barely getting going with the State Bureau of Investigation. But yeah, they say, 14 of those guys living in one house, one bathroom.
One house, one bathroom, Mike?
Yeah, that's what they allege. Yeah.
I was watching your reporting this weekend, and there was this issue of and correct me if I'm mistaken, an overflowing septic tank that they were concerned with as well.
Yeah, I mean they claimed that, and they showed me pictures too. They claimed that the septic tank was just full, and just the smell constantly coming out of it. And that, of course, is going to be a big part of the investigation going forward.
Mike, they said that they hadn't been paid for or had missed 4 paychecks. How, over what period of time?
So they say they were paid once a month. So we're talking, if that all pans out, that'd be 4 months of not getting paid.
So okay, So they missed 4 paychecks. They haven't gotten 4 paychecks according to what they reported to police and what police have put in this affidavit. And they get paid once a month, but they have not been paid, from the best that you can tell, for 4 months.
That's correct. That's what they say.
So where we've got to ask you what Ron Gibson's response to this has been, to these allegations and to the arrest. And then also what investigators are going to do from from this point forward, Mike?
Yeah, so, initially I'd called him, and I don't think he knew that it was coming out. He initially had a statement through the Farm Bureau Federation. He said that he regretted his actions, is very sorry, he let it escalate, and that he's taken a leave of absence from his job so it doesn't interfere with the work at the Farm Bureau. But as I mentioned, this piece of the investigation of the human trafficking, the back pay, this is really just beginning. The State Bureau of Investigation, not really saying a whole lot about it right now because it is so early, but they did confirm to me that they are investigating around 14 to 15 people living in one house, as I said there.
KSL 5 Television's Mike Anderson has been doing some great reporting, very interesting reporting on this farm that it just seems that the workers were living in squalor, in terrible conditions. You mentioned human trafficking. Can you expound on that component?
Well, I want to be careful because it's still early in the investigation, but from what I understand and from what the workers are telling me, so they had set up an agreement with Ron, they say, where they would be brought out by him. So he paid for their airfare, and then that would be part of that taken from their pay. So, my understanding is that the workers arranged for him, but again, this is all got to come out in the investigation, help them set up their visas. So a lot of that's going to be, into the weeds on how that was all worked out and whether it was done on the up and up.
And I know you want to wait for investigators to give you more information on what they find. Were these individuals that you spoke with about the altercation and the back pay and the living conditions, are they from Mexico?
Yes, they're all from Mexico.
Okay, all from Mexico, and did they get their back pay?
As far as Friday when I talked to them, not so far.
Not so far. Okay, and are they all? Do you know yet, Mike, if they have a place to stay right now, or are they still staying in that house?
No, so they can't go back to the house because of the legal issues and potential lawsuit from Ron. But I should back up a bit. There's no lawsuit. They worry that if they go back, there could be an issue. But they're currently staying with some temporary housing in Salt Lake that the Mexican consulate helped them get, but that's temporary, so they don't have that right now. They don't have the work through Ron, but they're working on some other potential workplaces.
Mike Anderson, thank you for your report from KSL 5 Television.
Thanks so much, Mike, for joining us. You can see Mike's full report at ksltv.com. And by way of follow-up, we have also reached out to the Utah Farm Bureau to ask them to join the show. Of course, if they're able to do that, they choose to do that, we will have them on during the show today or any day in the future. Straight ahead, let's talk about a new initiative from the Utah Department of Transportation, and it has to do with lane striping. And Dave, this is one of your, should I say, pet peeves, especially in wintertime and springtime rainy driving.
Yeah, initially it was a pet peeve. Now it scares me. I've seen such poor striping in certain areas of the state where it is genuinely dangerous to drive on these roads. And if they can improve them, if they can upgrade them, I am all for it.
Dave and Dujanovic. Hey, stay right here for more of Dave and Dujanovic.
And tomorrow morning, come back here for news, traffic updates, and reliable weather.
Join us to have a listen. Tim and Amanda.
Your morning companions for news.
Soon, this hot summer will give way to shorter days, beautiful colors, sunshine that seems a little dimmer. And before we know it, we're back to school shopping and cheering for our favorite football team. As the season changes, so will the news and weather. And we'll be here to cover it all. Plus, BYU sports coverage and traffic updates to get you to the game on time. KSL News Radio, your year-round companion for news.
It's easy to think all money managers are pretty much the same, but at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different? How? You sell high commission investment products, right?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission-based investment products.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Nope, never at Fisher. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in our client's best interest. It's the highest standard of care for a financial advisor.
How do you know what's in their best interest?
We get to know our clients and then tailor a portfolio based on their goals and needs.
But you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, you really do look out for your clients.
That's because our top priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. It might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss.
You thought there'd be a real estate crash, didn't you? And you thought you'd be able to buy a house for less money and at a lower interest rate, right? Sorry, the crash didn't happen. You see, there's a shortage of homes in Utah and Idaho, and that's why prices are stable or even going up 5 to 10%. If you keep waiting for the crash, it's just going to cost you more money. That's why you need to get a hold of Rick at loansbyrick.com today. If the going interest rate is 6 to 7%, don't panic. In the next 1 to 2 years, Rick will probably be able to help you refinance your home mortgage below 5%. If you find your dream home, don't wait. Today's interest rate will not be your forever interest rate, and home values will go up. So if you wait to buy it, it will cost you more money in the long run. Here's the guy who can sort it out for you. Rick at loansbyrick.com. Call or text Rick at 801-809-SAVE, 801-809-SAVE, or click loansbyrick.com.
Rick Kirschenbaum, NMLS 241179, and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106 are equal housing lenders. Some restrictions apply.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
This week's movie show is brought to you by My Hearing Centers. Learn about the amazing new Signia X hearing aid and find out how you could win a free pair from My Hearing Centers.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, a plane load of donations from Utah's Pacific Islander community will be on its way to Maui later today. Second, the new temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was dedicated in Saratoga Springs over the weekend. Third, 2 pilots were able to eject from a vintage MiG fighter at an air show in Michigan. No one was hurt on the ground when it crashed. Right now, 81 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
All right, this is going to be Dave's probably most beloved story of the entire show. The Utah Department of Transportation is replacing striping. Before you yawn.
Striping?
Yeah.
Are we fishing?
Yeah. Salt Lake, Davis, Tooele, Summit counties are on the horizon. New road striping is coming to a community near you, but right now it's Utah County. This morning, Utah Governor Spencer Cox was announcing this phase of UDOT's new phase of UDOT's efforts to upgrade freeway lane striping along the Wasatch Front. And this is going to be the most amazing striping you've ever seen.
We've seen elements of it. They've tested out varying styles and designs of lane striping over the past couple of years. But I will tell you, Deb, in my past life and in years and years and years ago, I used to paint lines. I used to paint lines in parking lots. I would paint lines. I was more the prep guy, so I know what goes into it. It's not as easy as just painting the lines on the freeway. It's not as easy. You have to measure everything out. You have to clean it off. You have to have the proper kinds of paint, reflective paint, reflective beads.
This is going to sound so rude. I don't care.
Oh, you should.
No, literally, I only care about this when I'm driving on the freeway and I can't see the lines. And I thought that's where your passion was going to land. But apparently it's more of like a behind the scenes, how to stripe a road. Here's where I...
Well, you cut me off. I was trying to make a point here.
Go for it then.
What I'm saying is that it is not easy to stripe.
Okay.
Whether it's in a parking lot or it's on a freeway. because it's not easy, because it's expensive, we don't do it as often and we don't keep up with it as well as we should. So what happens is they wear out, they fade, they're difficult to see, and then all of a sudden you're driving in one lane and you don't realize that I don't know where the lane is.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Especially when it rains. John Gleason of the Utah Department of Transportation. So tell us what this striping project is all about and how it's going to make it easier. Here's where my mind went. On your news release, you call this tiger tail striping. And so that just completely intrigued me. What is that all about?
Affectionately called tiger tail, Debbie. So it's contrast striping, and basically what it does is it sounds simple, but it really pops. It's the white tape, the white line, and then followed directly by a black line that really makes it stand out. And we've used this in the technology corridor the last couple of years on parts of I-15 in southern Salt Lake County, and now in Utah County. And already in the last month or so, we've had mayors and people that have been traveling on I-15 in Utah County that have reached out and told us what an improvement it is. And so we're excited to bring that up to Salt Lake County as well, and it's going to touch some areas of Davis County, Tooele, and Summit County as well.
John, is tiger tail striping, is that more expensive than just painting a yellow line or a white line?
It is. It's a little bit more intensive because we're cutting in grooves to the road, Dave, and then putting down the paint or the tape, whatever we're using, so that when those plows come over, like they do in the winter, and they're not going to completely shear it off. And we get compared to Arizona and some other states that maybe don't have some of the challenges with weather that we do, and they ask why we can't use those standing lane markers, and it's because of the snow removal efforts and the plows. It really wreaks havoc on the striping. It's essential for keeping us safe, but in terms of what it does to striping, it definitely cuts down on the visibility.
John Gleason with the Utah Department of Transportation, the UDOT Governor, announcing this striping effort in Salt Lake, Davis, Tooele, and Summit counties. Those will start in December. Utah County is wrapping up soon. So what is the average driver going to notice? If you've been driving in Utah a long time, like then versus now, what's the difference?
Hopefully, they're going to notice more visible lines, Debbie. One of the biggest questions we get is, why don't you use reflective paint? All of our paint, all of our tape, everything that we lay down is reflective. It has beads in it, but unfortunately, it can, with the winters that we have here, any weather, it can cut down on some of that reflectivity. We've made the lane markings wider, so we're going from 4 inches to 6 inches, and hopefully that will make it stand out as well as the contrast striping.
John, I've wondered why we just don't paint more often. Instead of looking at the latest and greatest technology, isn't it just a fresh coat of paint? Isn't that something that would work as well as anything?
Well, there's definitely something to that, Dave. We're out there. We try to refresh all of our lane markings once a year, and we've got a lot of lane miles, thousands of lane miles that we have to do every year. But our paint crews are out there constantly, overnight most of the time, and refreshing those markings. But there are always advances in technology and methods that are used, and so we want to make sure that we're on top of that and working with our surrounding states, sharing ideas, and the private industry as well, so that we can put out the best possible product.
Do we have any idea how often poorly painted lines or faded lines or contribute to crashes? Do we have any of that data?
I don't know that we do. But I think it's safe to say that, we've all been out there in rainstorms, and sometimes you'll be driving on a on a road, and it seems like the lines can just disappear on you. And so that's something that we're trying to prevent. That's something that we're trying to improve, the visibility of these lane markings, especially in poor weather conditions.
I'm trying to think of something else we could pick on you about today, John. So let me just throw this out there. What about the arrows? Because sometimes I pull up and I can't see on the road, some of these roads where the arrow is whether I'm supposed to be in the, if there's 2 left turn lanes or 1 left turn lane. Is that going to be part of this project?
That's a good question, Debbie, and I'm not sure, but let's get to the important stuff here. Dave Noriega used to be a painter. I worked with Dave 15 years ago. He's got so many past lives.
I know.
Bus driving, line painting.
And yet every winter and every spring when it is snowing or raining outside, the only thing I hear him complain about is how he lost all the lines in his little smart car as he's tootling into work on I-15. And then he comes on the air and he's talking about how to paint a stripe on the road. John Gleason of the Utah Department of Transportation, thank you so much. If you're still out there with the governor, tell him hi. And he owes us a finished phone call from the other day. He called us when the president was in town. We so appreciated that, but then he had to go because the president was getting ready to leave. But John Gleason, thank you so much. There you go, Striping 101. You got the how-to guide from my co-host Dave Noriega, and then you've got the skinny on the tiger tail striping that's happening in Utah County and will eventually happen in Salt Lake, Summit, Tooele, and Davis counties.
And I certainly appreciate that they're trying to get to these lines and repaint them every single year. I wonder if that's enough, if we don't need it twice a year, because we do have such extreme temperatures, whether it's blistering hot in the summer or freezing cold in the winter. I tell you, Deb, every single time I drive in bad weather, I feel unsafe because of the lines, because of either they're faded, they're not clearly marked, the technology is better, whatever it might be. There's all the reasons. But think of when it is raining right now, and we're talking about the reflections, the headlights that are hitting the ground, reflecting off the lines, reflecting off the water. It is dangerous, and it's scary.
Thanks for your insight. I was just giving you a hard time.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why you're not as passionate about striping as I am. I'm trying to impart my knowledge here, Deb.
Here's what I am passionate about. What is going on in Maui right now involving what went wrong, not only with the emergency communication system. They have the largest siren system in the entire world in Hawaii. There are 80 sirens that are supposed to fire off a loud warning signal when there's a natural disaster, and that did not happen. And additionally, there are questions about whether the electric grid was turned off in Hawaii, in Maui, when the wildfire was spreading so quickly. Residents there and people who are visiting the island are just furious about the lack of communication and the fast spread of the wildfires.
I feel 100% that the county officials and the police and the fire department have blood on their hands. There's no way that those poor people who were stuck in Lahaina did not deserve better communication.
So straight ahead, I'll go into what the problems are in Hawaii regarding the electric grid system and what happened there or didn't happen. And I want to talk to you about a conversation that I had just moments before the show with Rocky Mountain Power, which of course supplies power to most of us here in Utah. They do have a shutoff program, and it's pretty in-depth. I want to talk about how they use it when they implement it and how it impacts us in case of a wildfire and also high winds next.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top local story this hour. A hiker is recovering after an accident at the Provo River Falls near Camas. KSL News Radio's Michael Commett has more.
A hiker fell while crossing the top of the lower falls on Saturday evening. Fortunately, an off-duty medic tended to them until AirMed was able to transport them to the hospital. It was a 40-feet fall, and the hiker experienced lower back injuries and mild hypothermia from exposure to the cold water.
And KSL's Michael Commett reporting there. The Saratoga Springs Temple dedicated over the weekend, the 179th temple for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. 10 additional temples under construction around the state. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Mick Fleetwood has lived on the island of Maui for more than 30 years. He owned a restaurant that was destroyed by the wildfire in Lahaina. The Fleetwood Mac founder loaded up a plane with supplies when he heard about the disaster. And ABC's Gio Benitez has more.
While he helps his nearly 100 employees find places to live, he says he's ready to jump into action.
Do you have a plan right now of what you think you can do?
I think really what I can do most of all is hold the attention by being able to do this, and more demonstratively to go out and becoming part of or initiating something that will really be meaningful.
And he's not the only one.
The strength we are witnessing here on the island right now is truly remarkable.
That's ABC's Gio Benitez. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down 48 points on the day right now, while the NASDAQ is up 71. And our KSL weather, sunshine for the next couple of days and warming right up. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
Start your days with knowledgeable, friendly voices telling you about the latest news and weather out there.
Hi, this is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
In the business of waking you up each morning from 5 to 9.
On KSL News Radio.
Hey, folks, the summer has been beautiful in so many ways. We just love. But now it's school time, and the kids are going back. My kids are going back on Thursday, which means laundry is going to explode in the Noriega household. I don't know what happens. Apparently, we just wear the same T-shirt all summer long, but once school starts, it is laundry palooza. It is nonstop, which is part of the reason why we've loved having soft water in our house. Connecticut of Utah came in and installed a water softener years ago, and we could tell immediately. The first time we did some wash, you could tell that soft water really helped the laundry. Hard water has been brutal on basically everything it touches in our house, whether it's the skin, the laundry, the dishes, the expensive appliances. So if you want to get some soft water into your home and make that investment, give Connecticut of Utah a call, 801-576-8600. That's 801-576-8600. Or check them out online at softwaterutah.com.
Locking in an amazing, crazy low, once-in-a-lifetime deal on your terms has never been easier. Just go to General RV during our Bid and Buy sale, August 16th through the 19th. You have the power to name your own price. Just find your favorite RV, submit your best offer, and get a fantastic deal. To make a bid, go to General RV and ask the front desk associate for a bid sheet. In Draper off I-15. Not all offers will be accepted. Accepted offers do not require purchase. See dealer for details.
Made to Shine. Real stories from Shane Company customers.
I was 20 years old, stationed in Hawaii, and 2 weeks before I was deployed, I met the love of my life. The second I returned, I bought a cheap ring at the Base Exchange and proposed. 15 years later, I went to Shane Company and got her a one-of-a-kind ring with a pear-shaped diamond. It's the ring she deserves.
Shine forever with Shane Company's hand-selected diamonds, as unique as your love story. Shane Company, fine jewelry since 1929.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want you to know that it's the little things that count. Any remodeler can say they treat customers right when it comes to siding, gutters, windows, and exteriors. It's hard to know for sure. If a contractor uses cheap generic nails instead of super grippy ridge shaft nails for your siding, would you even know? If they use cheap $4 caulk to install your new windows instead of paying $9 a tube for the good stuff, could you tell by looking? It all comes down to the details and trust. At RGS Exteriors, we only do things one way, the right way. We never cut corners. We never skimp on details. We never do less than the job requires. That's why we offer our industry's exclusive 10-year everything guarantee. And it's why we have the happiest customers. If you need any gutters, siding, or replacement windows, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or online at rgsutah.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we have a problem-free drive right now across the Wasatch Front and the Wasatch Back, for that matter. If you're hitting the freeways right now, you should have good speeds on I-15 northbound or southbound through Utah, Salt Lake, and Davis counties. No problems making your way around the Salt Lake Valley on the east and west side belt routes, and the 201 freeway is a good drive as well. How do you know if you're getting the best deal on employee benefits? You don't unless you get free quotes from every insurance company every year. Visit shopmyplan.com to get free quotes. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, hot and dry today and tomorrow with highs in the upper 90s. Thursday's high could reach 100 degrees. And we'll see cooler temperatures with a chance of thunderstorms on Friday and into the weekend. And right now, we're at 81 degrees under sunny skies at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
If you're just getting caught up to speed on what is going on in Maui, the island, parts of it ravaged by wildfires, 96 people dead, 2,700 structures destroyed, billions of dollars in damage. And now the governor's saying that the fire was spreading at about a mile a minute. You saw the video last week.
Yeah, and we thought it initially that the wildfires had been quickly extinguished, but as soon as those winds picked up, it just caused even more damage. And I think it surprised a lot of folks. The officials thought it was under control, and then it has just been raging.
Videos of boats burning in the ocean, people running to the ocean to get away from the flames, cars that were just absolutely fried in a line as people were trying to get out, get off of the island, get away. And now today, it just looks like, I don't even know, like a horror movie. A horror movie as you watch videos out of Maui. Also, frustration is starting to mount there about like what went wrong with warning systems that didn't warn people, cell phones that didn't send alerts, and also questions about the electrical grid.
I feel 100% that the county officials and the police and the fire department have blood on their hands. There's no way that those poor people who were stuck in Lahaina did not deserve better communication.
And we do know the Attorney General in Hawaii has launched an investigation this morning to find out why people did not get any warning. In some cases, their cell phone alerts didn't go off. The warning, they have one of the most robust warning systems when it comes to sirens in the entire world. There's 80 on Maui alone, 400 on all of the islands. Those did not sound, at least giving some people like a heads up that something is wrong and they need to tune into TV or tune into radio to sort of figure out what the game plan is.
I'm a little bit surprised that wouldn't have been happening already. It's the wildfire. You obviously could see that coming from miles and miles away, despite the fact that it was traveling extremely quickly. But that being said, we see fires and smoke from all around when it happens here in Utah. I'm a little surprised that folks didn't realize how dangerous it was or knew to tune in or look for information because it was massive.
Talked about earlier, like Hawaii is like one of the last places you would expect a massive, monstrous wildfire to consume one of the islands, and at the rate it did. The other issue that they're looking at right now is to whether the electric grid helped fuel the fire. And by that I mean, did the power grid get left on? And so I looked into that this morning, and Hawaii does not have a power shut-off rule or protocol in place. We don't know if the power grid got left on, but we do know that if a power grid is left on, it can help fuel a fire. It can help spread a wildfire. It can make escaping a wildfire extremely dangerous for people because as the power lines are being impacted by either the winds that are fueling the fire or the fire itself, and they fall on the ground and they're live wires, well, now you have an electrocution hazard. So I called up Jonna Whiteside, who's with Rocky Mountain Power, because I wanted to know, like, if this were to happen in Utah, and Rocky Mountain Power, of course, being our major supplier of electricity do they have a plan in place? And before I called up Jonna, what I did is I Googled Rocky Mountain Power, literally Googled power shutoff program, and this huge website full of information came up on their shutoff program. And they do have a shutoff program in place. And there's a lot of reasons why they would, implement the protocols. It would be high winds, very low humidity. They've got real-time observations from on-the-ground experts about fire hazards. They talk to the weather people and then who are on staff and local, government agencies that track the weather, and they determine if they need to shut off the power. And so, Dave, I asked Jonna to give us more information about how this program works.
Rocky Mountain Power has a program called a Public Safety Power Shutoff. It's a program that the company has had for probably going on about 5 years now. A lot of this are best practices that are taken from our partners in the West. So when we think about California, Pacific Northwest, we're actually one of our sister divisions operates Pacific Power, kind of taking those best practices they've learned over the years. When you have some of these populations so close or densely populated along the wildland-urban interface. And so we've taken that and we've, like I said, it's been about 5 years here in Utah, and we basically have what we call areas of concern, where we've identified these kind of high-risk areas where we have transmission and distribution lines, so going to the customers. And we basically have pre-identified those. We've worked with our operations field crews. They know where they are. They would know how to go and turn them off if we needed to de-energize. And then we have a whole messaging process and campaign as far as alerting the customers if we were to do that. And typically, this process would start about 5 days out as more of kind of we see that these winds are possibly coming in. We talk to our local and state public safety partners. We kind of just monitor it. And as we get closer to this, weather event, we've got about 400 weather stations, and then we're also able to tie into like UDOT weather stations and a couple others to basically look at the historical data and say, on this day, a year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, what did the winds do? And based upon that, we can have a pretty good probability with our in-house meteorologist to know if we're probably going to have an issue where the winds will be strong enough to damage our infrastructure. And where we're kind of concerned about, that wind damage could either put debris into the line, cause a spark, it could knock a line down and cause a spark. So what kind of this program is about one of two things. It could be to not start a spark or to not, start a wildfire. The other part of it is if there is a wildfire going on and, we have enough time to kind of do this analysis, what a lot of people don't know is that smoke can be conducive to electricity. So if you get a lot of this black smoke over by the power lines, that can also start an additional spark, an additional wildfire.
If the power lines go down during a fire too, the poles start to snap. Does that create and the lines are on? Does that create an electrical hazard for people trying to evacuate?
It can, especially when you think about electrical lines kind of crossing, ingress and egress areas. But I think, again, part of our program is to try and get ahead of the power lines actually burning down. So one of the other things our field crews will do when we kind of see this a few days out is they can go out and they can spray some fire retardant on the poles, kind of like the ones you see the planes drop on these big wildfires. It's just not colored. Or they can actually wrap them with this fire retardant wrap. And when we think about kind of wildfires in these areas where they're more kind of like these lower fuels and these lower grasses, they tend to just kind of burn through really quickly. So our hope is that if a wildfire does kind of burn through those areas, it'll kind of unaffect the pole. Maybe it charges a little bit, but structurally it's good. It's got its integrity and won't affect that. So that's, I guess, one other thing. But yeah, that's definitely a hazard. There's definitely a lot of, unknowns in a large-scale wildfire.
That was my conversation, Dave, from just 2 minutes to 9 a.m. this morning with Jonna Whiteside of Rocky Mountain Power about what Rocky Mountain Power does in Utah and in the western U.S. to, protect power lines from fire.
In part, what stood out to me is he described a fire retardant wrap that they can put when this fire is coming in. They can wrap these lines or even these poles with this fire retardant wrap to help protect them. Because for all the things that you described, if you don't have the proper shut off or care of these lines, it could turn a bad situation even worse.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Did you know Utah has just one all-new station in the morning?
It's this one. Weekday mornings between 5 and 9.
Start your days with us. We're Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Your morning companions for news.
Watch parties aren't what they used to be.
Welcome to today's matinee.
Ever since we got Xfinity, my little sister and her friends can easily stream all their favorite stuff.
We'll start with 2 episodes of Top Chef, then Chopped.
When I was a kid, we'd worry about buffering. Now they just worry about what's on the charcuterie board.
Enjoy these fine meats and cheeses.
These are just cut up hot dogs and spray cheese.
Indeed.
The best way to stream your favorites is on the Xfinity 10G network. Now through September 6th, new customers can get 1.2 gig internet on the Xfinity 10G network made for streaming for just $25 a month for 2 years when you add Xfinity Mobile. There's no annual contract and you get Wi-Fi equipment included. Plus, add Now TV for just $20 a month. Go to Xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless bill and an auto-pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Now TV and Xfinity Mobile require Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary. Stream Top Chef on Peacock.
Prices are slashed.
This means hot deals at Dave's Bernina.
At their St. George and Provo locations.
I mean, offers so good we can't tell you the prices, and they won't last long.
Up to 48 months, no interest on certain models.
Come in now for this 3-day event. See the world premiere of the all-new Bernina 790 Pro machine with features you've never seen before, such as a computerized quilting option. Order one now and get a free accessory package worth over $2,400.
Purchase a new Bernina L890
or LH60
and receive all these free gifts,
such as a thread collection and sewing accessories,
Serger suitcase, and the Big Book of Serging. Amazing bargains on previously owned machines while they last that come with warranties.
Starting at $399. So many other hot deals and offers. Come in and take advantage of this sale.
Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. Opening a My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal record and interactive tools tailored for you. You can see if you are eligible to receive benefits, view spousal benefit estimates, and compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates when you want to start receiving benefits. Already receiving benefits? Use your account to change your address, set up or change direct deposit, get a proof of income letter, and more. In most states, you can also request a replacement Social Security card. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Boyd Matheson on the pitfalls of politics. If we want to be an informed news consumer, you have to differentiate between politics and policy. The politics usually is playing to the emotional space. Often we've been conditioned to react inappropriately to anger, fear, frustration, and so on. Policy is always about solutions. You may not agree with it in terms of the path to get there, but that's okay, because you can have a policy discussion based on principles. When you get to the politics, it's more about attacking the other side, demonizing or weaponizing the words of an opponent or someone that you disagree with, or just having contempt that the other side isn't just wrong, but they're wrong and evil. Policy never gets into that space. Policy is, here's a way to get a result. Here's a path to do it. You don't have to agree, but that path is always going to lead you to the best solution.
Join Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, search and rescue teams brought out a hiker who'd fallen 40 feet at the Provo River Falls near Camas. Second, today is the deadline for veterans to apply for retroactive compensation under the PACT Act. And third, Mick Fleetwood loaded up a plane with supplies when he heard about the disaster affecting his employees and neighbors in Maui. Right now, 81 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
I really appreciate the work of our coworkers, our colleagues at the Deseret News. They do a lot of analysis of housing prices and keep us up to date, Dave. And that's where we got this article that we want to talk about right now. That in Salt Lake County, single-family homes, you ready for this, are now $600,000.
Yikes. Mm-hmm. $600,000 on average?
Yeah.
It just gets worse and worse. It seems like every time we bring this up, it was supposed to settle down, and it has a little bit. But what it's settled down from was all-time highs. Utah's housing prices, sure, they're maybe down a little bit compared to last year, but now it seems like they're tracking upward.
So what I want to talk about is how much income you need to earn annually to afford a $600,000 home. And I want to get your read as a dad as to where your kids might end up.
It's one of my favorite comparisons. So often we try to make things relatable, and I think understanding how much money you need to make to afford this house is so clear, because I think a lot of us do this in our family expenses, in our budgets. Oh, if you're making $60,000 and then you're making $50,000, if you're a two-income household, okay, that's $110,000. Let's look at what kind of home I could afford. So if the average home is $600,000, that's what I want to know, Deb. I'm glad you looked this up.
Yeah. So in a moment, don't let me forget to mention this too, how we compare to the rest of the nation, because I think where my mind goes is, are my kids going to have to move out of state? And how far out of state are they going to have to move? Can you move someplace cool? I don't mind coming to visit. I don't mind some of the small towns in Kansas, Nebraska. They're awesome for a few days, but I don't know if I...
Not sure I want to live there.
Okay. So I wish we had a drum roll. But hello. Thank you. So if you want your kids to buy a $600,000 home, this is according to Bankrate. They've done some fine analysis here as well for us. They're going to need to earn about $133,000 a year. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
To buy an average home.
Yeah.
So
assuming 20% down. So they got to come up with...
Oh, wow. You got to come up with $120,000?
I think, yeah.
Like, nobody's coming up with $120,000 down.
They're going to ask to skim some equity out of your home, Dad.
Jeez.
You're going to have to refi
about
your
all
home.
the equity?
I don't know how that would work legally. I think you're just giving them $120,000.
Can I gift him that? Yeah.
I don't know. That would be messy.
I would not.
Yeah, they have to. So, but that's, okay. We go $133,000. That does sound outrageous. If they're a married couple, they're partners, they're living together, and they're both contributing to that $133,000, they each have to earn about $65,000 a year, right? Am I doing my math right?
Yeah.
Yeah, about $65,000 a year. So that's within reach, right? That's in reach. But you both either have to be working, or somebody's going to be having to make bank. I mean, they're going to have to be making $133,000 a year.
Well, let me just put this in comparison, because the Utah Taxpayers Association has done some incredible work on what the average family in Utah brings in. Two people, like a dual income household, $87,000 is the average.
Yeah.
That's what the average is here in Utah. And you're telling me to buy the average home in Salt Lake, you need to make $130,000 plus?
It's a single family home. So obviously, if you go to the real estate website, you're going to find less expensive homes. You may find a fixer-upper, which also is a whole nother story, because you end up knee-deep when you buy a fixer-upper. You can buy a townhome. I saw townhomes online this morning for much, much less money, but maybe $450,000, $500,000. But we're talking about that $600,000. If you want to get into that that single-family home in Salt Lake County, that's the median income. And so how do you analyze, oh, by the way, did I tell you that it would be about a $3,000 a month payment?
Yep.
So $3,000 a month. So maybe you could buy it, and then you can rent out a room.
Now, I
make
think
up some of those costs.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are looking at that, whether it's a mother-in-law apartment or flat out
basement,
just
bedroom,
roommate,
yeah.
whatever it might be. But $3,000 a month, that is just for the loan. I don't think that's taking into account your property taxes and fees. You very well could be around.
Yeah, I've got that. So you're looking at a lot more. So anytime you buy a home, here's a good rule of thumb. 28% of your income is what should be set aside every year, but every month. 28% of what you bring in gets set aside for housing costs. So I round that up. I say 30%. So if you are going to purchase a home of that size and you are going, if you're putting the minimum down, what's that, 3.5%? I guess if you did like an FHA, 20% down if you want to avoid that mortgage insurance, which adds another $100, maybe a little more to your mortgage. 20% down would be $120,000 down. And then you got to ask the seller to pay your closing costs. I know I'm giving you a lot of spicy tips right now, but you've got to ask at that price. If you are just trying to get in that home and you want to stay in Salt Lake County, you're going to have to ask the seller to pay those closing costs, because that's another. I'm going to throw this number out there, $8,000, maybe, with all the extra closing costs.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. I don't know what closing costs are right now.
It's just absorbing it. It just piles on.
Well, another thing to take into account here is not only is the price of the home very, very high, and sure, it's flat from May. It's down 4% from June of last year, which was the all-time high. But this is the important thing to remember. Last year at this time, home mortgage rates were at 5%. Now you're looking at high 6s and even the 7s. So when you have a 2 percentage point jump, it doesn't matter that it may drop down a few percentage points from last June, the overall value of the home, because you're going to take it in the teeth with your home mortgage rate.
Yeah, with the interest. And I just look at interest as like you're just throwing it out the window as you're driving down I-15. That's this money that's just gone. It goes to the mortgage company. It doesn't go to pay down your principal. It just goes to the mortgage company. It's the cost of borrowing money right now. On a billboard on I-15 today, I saw that interest rate at 7%, a little over 7% right now. If you move out of state, the median home price across the nation is $410,000. So your kid's going to have to say bye-bye, daddy.
Yeah, $410 is extremely expensive.
Yeah.
But I guess comparatively speaking, it's a bargain. Another thing to remember is how many folks in the last 2 years had refinanced or purchased a home when the mortgage rate was in the 2s and 3s.
Right.
They're never letting go of that mortgage. They're never letting go of that mortgage.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's going to cause an even.
They're just going to have to buy another house at 7% interest. Yeah. If they don't have enough cash to buy a house for cash.
And they're not going to do that. It's just too expensive. The mortgage rates are too bad comparatively speaking.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen on the KSL News Radio app and in your car at 102.7 FM. KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Triple-digit heat is in the forecast as we head toward the final weeks of summer. State Park spokesperson Devin Chavez is reminding everyone to be cautious if you're going to be out on the water.
Ensuring that the safety equipment you do have does properly fit the individual that's going to be wearing it is super important.
And this comes after a 3-year-old boy died at Echo State Park over the weekend. The child fell out of a boat and got hit by the propeller on the boat. Chavez says the family was taking proper safety precautions and it was just a tragic accident. Salt Lake City is giving away more than $35,000 to help Utahns get access to healthy, fresh food, part of the SLC Food Equity Microgrant program that launched earlier this year. The grants go to groups that help the community get better access to healthy food. They also support individual households as they set up their own home food production efforts like vegetable gardens. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Officials from NASA and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration held a news conference in Washington today to talk about the latest climate data. It shows July's been the hottest month for the Earth on record, beating out the 2019 numbers by 0.2 of a degree. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson.
Certainly is self-evident that the Earth is heating up. And what we find is that July of this year, the temperatures are the hottest ever on record.
That's Bill Nelson from NASA. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average, just barely above zero, about 4 points higher right now. The NASDAQ, on the other hand, is up about 96 points. And our KSL weather, we could hit the century mark again later this week. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
This summer, the political season heats up.
By August, it'll be time for debates. Can you believe it?
We're planning coverage of the real issues, the important stories that impact how we live.
Listen each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
I have diabetes. I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I have asthma. I'm at risk too.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a vaccine that can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
When it's hot like this, air conditioners struggle to keep up. Parts are under more stress, and sometimes those parts fail. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and no one helps more homeowners maintain and repair their air conditioners than Any Hour Services. As a matter of fact, last year, over 32,000 homeowners called Any Hour Services for help maintaining and repairing their systems. Any Hour Services has over 100 HVAC technicians to help with everything from maintenance, repair, to installing a new system. This summer, there'll be a lot of people told they need to replace their air conditioner, and they'll wonder, do I really need to? If you're told you need to replace your air conditioner and you still have questions, Any Hour Services can give you a second opinion and let you know what options are available. Maybe it just needs a little maintenance or a small repair. Maybe it does need to be replaced, but if you don't feel good about being told you need to replace your air conditioner, don't ignore those feelings. Call Any Hour Services for help with air conditioner maintenance, repair, or to schedule a free second opinion. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
If you own a small to medium-sized business that kept employees on payroll through COVID, you may have a big cash refund waiting for you. The Employee Retention Credit is a tax credit of up to $26,000 per employee. And now, more businesses than ever qualify. The experts at RefundsPro.com specialize in cutting through the red tape of qualifying for this government program. Most of their refunds are over $100,000. Even businesses that have received PPP funds may be eligible. And there are absolutely no fees unless you receive a refund. So there's no reason not to apply. If your business experienced shutdowns, limited capacity, supply chain challenges, or reduced revenue due to COVID, you likely qualify. RefundsPro.com has already helped hundreds of businesses. So don't lose the refund you're owed by missing the deadline. Get started today with a free 5-minute questionnaire at RefundsPro.com. That's refunds with an S, pro.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a report of a vehicle fire in Parley's Canyon, actually past the canyon. This is westbound I-80, 2 miles east of Echo in Summit County. Also an accident, 9400 South and Highland Drive. Renew your smile with Grandpa's Dental. Grandpa's Dental offers cosmetic and routine dentistry. Visit grandpasdental.com for a location near you. That's grandpasdental.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, hot and dry today and tomorrow with highs in the upper 90s. Thursday's high could reach 100 degrees, and we'll see cooler temperatures with a chance of thunderstorms on Friday and into the weekend. Right now, 84 degrees and sunny at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
Well, something we're just kind of learning about President Biden's trip to Utah last week and his visit is that while he was up in Park City at his fundraiser after he spoke at the VA Medical Center, he said he regretted naming the Inflation Reduction Act the Inflation Reduction Act. This has been reported by Politico, and I see it on a number of other national news platforms. I wish I hadn't called it that because it has less to do with reducing inflation than it does to do with dealing with providing for alternatives that generate economic growth. Ugh.
I want to say I told you so. I want to do an I told you so dance. It is basically the Carlton. I mean, it is like arms flailing. I am so bothered by this, Debbie, because everyone knew it, but the White House prompts, they're like, no. You're going to be amazed at how green energy lowers inflation. And I wanted to bang my head against a door. And I thought, you know what? I want to talk to Boyd about this because I'm sure, having worked in Washington, you've seen some doozies of a name.
Yeah, there's a host of them out there, and this is, I think the only thing the president got wrong in that is that he said it had little to do with taking down inflation. It actually had nothing to do with taking down inflation because it just wasn't. It's about climate. It's about energy, and those are noble things. Those are things that we should have conversations and get to for sure. But the problem in Washington is so often it's a shiny object that you use to rally the base. Make sure you're talking to your base folks. You're doing your fundraising campaigns off of it, and in the end, it's the results. And what are the results? And so there's all kinds of them. Clean Air Act has a host of things that have nothing to do with clean air or anything like unto it. And I think there's some interesting things that the president is gambling with. So the president clearly gambled with the Inflation Reduction Act. And now he's saying, I'm not sure that's such a great idea. I think he has a bigger problem than that, and it's Bidenomics. It is a big, high risk, high reward. If the economy goes great in the next few months, Bidenomics will carry him to re-election in 2024. If the economy kind of continues to sputter and putter the way it is right now, it will be his doom in 2024. So naming can be fun. It can be creative. Gets the staff all energized.
So what you're
but
saying
it can
is
be
when you attach your last name to something like Bidenomics and the economy doesn't recover,
you own it.
It's
You will own the whole thing, and so it is a high risk, high reward. And there's a lot of internal battles going on. Everybody I'm talking to in Washington, inside the administration, there's a lot of people sweating who said, "Yeah, we're going all in Bidenomics," and there's a lot of folks saying, "I'm not so sure we should go all in, putting our name on the economy."
Well, and oftentimes when you have something that's kind of clever like that, it's the read my lips moment.
Yeah.
It can come back and bite you, and it gets played all the time in every commercial you will see.
That's right. It's the too cute by half problem of consultants. You know, they'll test something, they'll get excited about something. The staff will get all jazzed. Oh, this is going to be so great. Imagine the bumper stickers, the fundraising, all the things.
Yeah, imagine the bumper stickers and the fundraising from your opponents.
Yeah,
Speaking of fundraising, do we have any idea of how much money President Biden raised while he was in town and up in Park City after he was at the VA hospital? Because we know that was part of his trip, right? He came to Utah. The flagship speech, if you will, of his visit here was regarding veterans benefits and the expansion of the PACT Act. So veterans, I think the deadline is today for retroactive benefits.
And I have a little bit from that speech.
We have many obligations as a nation. We only have one truly sacred obligation, and that's to equip those we send into harm's way and care for them and their families when they come home and when they don't.
And Debbie, when I was listening to this and when he was describing taking care of our veterans, and one of the worst things is when he was describing the burn pits. I've tried over the last week to really capture what the burn pit was like, but listen to the size and scope of these burn pits that the president described.
Now, the burn pits in Iraq, where we're talking about, and in other countries, Afghanistan, even in parts of throughout the Middle East, they're the size of football fields, up to 100 yards long, 20 yards to 30 yards wide, and 8 to 10 feet deep. And everything you can imagine is thrown into these pits to incinerate them.
Boyd, when I was listening to the speech, there were elements of the speech that I thought were very, very good. I thought when he was talking about his son Bo, and it was very specific. I could connect the dots.
Yeah.
And kind of going back to this conversation, part of what frustrates me and angers me so much about these bill names, where they're like, hey, look at this shiny object over here. It has nothing to do with what the left hand is doing. I feel like they're cheating me, or they're trying to lie to me in a way. Like, they don't trust me to be able to connect the dots of their argument on their own. So they're going to say, hey, this is we love puppies and ice cream bill. Well, who's against ice cream and puppies?
Yeah.
And then on the left side, they've got something that's completely and totally false and has been sold completely in a different way.
Yeah, and so I think there's two really important things in there, Dave. One, I totally agree. I thought the president was at his best. That was Joe Biden at his best, talking about the PACT Act. He was personal. He was specific. He had that family story, of course, with his son Bo. And he made this about
right, people who don't know that passed away, and he served.
Yeah,
right.
And so it was clearly exposed to some of those kinds of things in his service, and so there's a family connection there. But most important, the president did what presidents are supposed to do, and that is to raise our moral imagination. He said, this is not an economic decision for the country. This is a moral decision for the country to keep those promises. So I thought that was very important. I think the flip side of that, Dave, is once that part is done, then you're off to naming, branding, and electioneering. And that's where these kinds of things often get sideways, is because you can get so caught in here is the moment that you end up missing it with all of these other things that nobody are going to read. And Madison actually pointed out, he says, if our laws become so voluminous that nobody can read them and know what is in them, that's the greatest threat to the nation. And so we have these bills with fancy-sounding names, thousands of pages that nobody has read, and often they're filled in with little lines. This is something a lot of people don't look at. You can go into a lot of bills, and when the bill is passed, it may not even be complete. And so you may have several paragraphs that will say, Congress hereby bequeaths to the agency power to decide what this rule is, what the penalties are, and how to enforce it. And so a lot of that is stuff that's in these thousands of page bills. There's little things just tucked in or not tucked in, left blank. That's often where the Congress abdicates their authority. We shall love puppies, and we hereby bequeath to the agency, decide what it means to love a puppy, what the penalties are, and they will enforce all of that. And that's where the problem lies.
Boyd Matheson, Inside Sources today from 1 to 3. Thanks, Boyd.
Great stuff, Boyd. As always, look forward to your show. Next, the Unified Police Department is calling the show because they've uncovered this scheme to really, really roll back car odometers. And now they're in search of drivers who may think their Subaru Outback has 100,000 miles less than it actually does.
Based off the information that we found in the search warrant, we believe that there are between 300 and 600 victims right now.
Dave and Dujanovic. Hi, it's Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Why should you start your day with us?
We have decades of news experience between us.
And we take your trust seriously.
Come here for news tomorrow, 5 to 9.
On KSL.
Soon, this hot summer will give way to shorter days, beautiful colors, sunshine that seems a little dimmer. And before we know it, we're back to school shopping and cheering for our favorite football team. As the season changes, so will the news and weather. And we'll be here to cover it all. Plus, BYU sports coverage and traffic updates to get you to the game on time. KSL News Radio, your year-round companion for news.
From Audra McDonald to Mozart, from ABBA to Frank Zappa, there's something for you at Utah Symphony and Utah Opera. Feel the grandeur of classical masterworks with a world-class orchestra. Experience adventure and romance with stunning operas and films screened with live music. Hear the best voices in the business sing pop hits. And make memories with the kids at whimsical family concerts. All shows have just gone on sale at the best prices you'll see this year. Get tickets for your favorites at usuo.org. New to the symphony and opera, performances trending now include Black Panther in concert, Dvorak's wildly popular New World Symphony, an unforgettable collaboration with singer and actress Audra McDonald, and the heartbreaking love story La Boheme. The super low prices for these high-demand shows won't last long, so secure great seats for extraordinary live music experiences now at usuo.org.
Hey guys, are you over 30? Let's talk about testosterone and performance. Your testosterone can decline at an average of 1 to 2% a year after you turn 30. And Revive Men's Health have been experts at treating men with low testosterone and ED since 2011. We're the clinic guys come to when their current treatment isn't working. They have a complicated medical condition, or they're just not happy with their performance. We love what we do and the patients we care for. You can ask our patients. We did, and we have a 99% patient satisfaction rate this year. Our patients even tell us we're more affordable than their insurance deductibles and copays. Let's get to the bottom of your issues and fix them. That's what we do, and we do it really well. Book your T-check and exam today. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or send us a private message at revivemenshealth.com.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Hi, I'm Heather Kelly with KSL News Radio. I have a podcast, Money Making Sense. My passion is to help people keep more money in their pockets by learning how to cut costs.
Unplugging unused gadgets can cut your bill by 10%.
This includes anything from understanding your health insurance options.
How do those co-payments or deductibles or out-of-pockets play in? And what is it going to cost me?
To smart strategies for buying a home on your budget. But it isn't all about the cash. Not getting scammed and preventing financial abuse is a big part of Money Making Sense.
The biggest piece that's holding women back on being able to leave is feeling financially trapped.
Basically, if money affects your life in any way, I'll talk about it. That includes speaking with ambassadors, state governors, and even the U.S. Secretary of Transportation about where your tax dollars are going. Follow Money Making Sense for free wherever you get your favorite podcasts on KSLpodcast.com or the KSL News Radio app.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Utah State Parks reminding boaters of safety issues after the death of a 3-year-old boy at Echo Reservoir. Second, Salt Lake City is distributing grant funding to help low-income families grow and eat healthier food. And third, NASA does more than send astronauts into space. It also makes detailed measurements of the Earth's rising temperature, and it says we're hotter than we've ever been. Right now, 84 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
I want to talk about this odometer fraud case. I don't even know why I giggled. Odometer fraud ring, because it's crazy, Dave, what's happened and what police have found out about this ring. They've arrested 3 people, all under the age of like 22 years old. I'm trying to recall the press release. Let me see if I have it somewhere in my stack of paperwork here. I think they were like 19, 20, and 21 years old. They arrest these three people. They were accused of using false IDs to buy Subaru Outbacks. I don't know why Subaru Outbacks. We're going to find out from the detective in just a moment. And then they rolled back the odometers on some of them up to 100,000 miles.
Okay.
And that's why I was kind of like chuckling a little bit. 100,000.
This is 17 years old and it only has 90,000 miles. What a bargain!
Here's the pitch. I was thinking about this. Like, how in the world would you convince somebody to buy what they think is a car with 75,000 miles on it, but it really has 175,000 and it's 10 years old, right? 10 or 15 years old. But like, it was grandma's car.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
She only.
I'm gonna need to talk to Grandma.
She drove it once a week to the grocery store. I would totally.
You'd
buy
that. Yeah.
I would totally buy that. Grandma and Grandpa just drove it once a week until we took their driver license away, and that's why. But these cars have 100,000 more miles on them than the person who bought them. I mean, in some cases, thought there were.
Okay. So we're talking about a 19, 20, 21-year-old, this Ring. Have we mentioned how many times they've done this, what they're accused of?
Let's bring on Detective J.D. Nelson of the Unified Police Department. I was listening to our coverage on this story late last week, Detective Nelson, and it sounded like between 300 and 600 people might be tootling around in one of these odometer fraudulent cars.
Yeah, it's interesting you guys bring that up. So initially, we'd only identified about 10 different victims in this case, and they were all Subaru Outbacks. But as we served the search warrant, we found more evidence. We went through cell phone downloads and different things like that. We found that they had been doing this since 2021, and that they had been doing this on all sorts of vehicles, in Fords, Chevys, Dodges, Cadillacs, Nissans, and then the Subarus. And so we don't have a true number of how many victims are out there, which is why we are asking people to call in, because we just don't have a true number. But based on the amount of cash that they have received and the purchases they've made, we estimate somewhere in the 300 to 600 range.
So how is this scam working? Would they buy vehicles, roll them back, sell them, buy more vehicles? How did that work?
Yeah, give Dave a how-to.
And also, if you could tell me how to roll back my odometer.
Yeah, it's not quite the Matilda scam where they're actually rolling stuff back. What they're doing is they're going to purchase a vehicle, typically 2008 or newer, because that's when electronic odometers really became a thing. They'll buy a vehicle. It'll have 150 to 250,000 miles. They'll get that vehicle for pennies on the dollar. Then what they're going to do is they're going to disconnect the odometer. So they're going to pull wires in the back just so that electronic odometer is not actually displaying anymore. So they don't have to go through all the engineering of rolling back an electronic odometer. They just disconnect it. And then they go and they sell it to somebody and they tell them, hey, the pixels on the screen just went out last week, or, the odometer just stopped working. But here's a Carfax, from last week when I got the oil change, and they plug in a code reader and it shows the true mileage, and they sell this to people, and then people, because it's such a good price on the car that they're buying, they fall for it, and then when they go get that odometer fixed, they find that that vehicle has 50 to 100,000 more miles than what they thought.
Unified Police Detective J.D. Nelson live on the line with us right now as we talk about this odometer fraud scheme that law enforcement uncovered. It could involve hundreds and hundreds of cars that were sold by 3 Utah men and duped people into believing that the mileage was a lot less, and in some case like 100,000 miles less on the car. You just heard how this scheme worked. And so I'm going to guess, I might be going on a limb here, was that Carfax report fraudulent that they presented the buyers?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. What they're doing is they're taking a Carfax from a different vehicle and then altering it, whether that be in a PDF form and just changing the VIN number to match the vehicle they're selling, but keeping all the information from another vehicle. or in a lot of cases, they're just taking pictures of other Carfaxes and not even changing the VIN, showing it to people, and just hoping that they won't check the VIN numbers on them.
Oh, so that
which is happening.
We should be checking the VIN numbers. Absolutely. Okay.
What was your reaction to the age of these kids?
You know, I was pretty surprised for how sophisticated they were with this scam and how old they were. I was not expecting that. Typically, when I see something this big with this many victims, I'm finding criminals who have been in the lifestyle for quite a while. Usually been to prison or jail multiple times, and these are three young, obviously intelligent men who didn't really have a criminal history, and it was pretty surprising to me.
Does that make you think that maybe there was someone above them that kind of pulling the strings?
You know, that's definitely something we looked into, but through this investigation, we've been in this investigation for months now, and through this investigation, we've not identified anybody else that's involved other than these three people.
So, Detective, if they were purchasing the cars for one price and probably getting them for pretty dirt cheap if they had 150 or 250,000 miles on them, were they then flipping them to the buyers for a lot more money and then taking that cash and buying fancy stuff with that cash, or were they saving that money?
Yeah, so they're making $3,000 to $10,000 on each vehicle, just depending on what it is, and then taking that cash. We found cash that they had saved, but they had also been purchasing high-end sports cars. They went down to Texas a few months ago and purchased a 2018, I believe, McLaren for $140,000 in cash. Prior to that, they had bought a 2016 Corvette Z06 up in Idaho for $60,000 in cash. So they're taking this money, purchasing high-end sports cars. They like to race around Salt Lake Valley area. They fled from the police a couple times in those cars. So they have all this stuff that they're purchasing and doing, and then they'll turn around and sell those high-end vehicles and get that money back and then go buy another one.
What kind of charges are they facing?
Yeah, so we are seeking a federal indictment on them. The charges are going to be fraud, tampering with an odometer, and there's some other charges that we're looking at just based on the conspiracy of having three people there. But yeah, we're going to wait for that federal indictment to come down to see exactly what the charges are.
Detective, if you look at the ages, and Dave brought this up, and I think that's an excellent point. If you said this has been going on for a couple of years, it looks as though the youngest Utah resident would have been about 17 years old at the time this started. And then the other ones would have been about 18 and then 19 years old, because the oldest right now is 21, and they live. You marked them on the news release as having pinpointed them and living in South Salt Lake, two of them, and then one in Draper. So if you get the indictment, they started pretty young. Yeah, it's a horrible way to start your adult life, becoming federal felons. And I've thought about this a lot as I lay awake at night and think about this case. And a lot of people have brought that up, like, they're 20 years old. Don't you feel bad that, they're 20 years old and they're going to become federal felons? And like I do, I'm not excited about the fact that three intelligent young men are about to, become federal felons for the rest of their life. However, we have so many victims who have been hurt by this scam and their money taken away from them. And, when I look at this case, I have to remind myself of all the people that they have victimized, and they knew what they were doing. They were using fake names. They were using fake phone numbers, shutting everything off. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew that they were victimizing these people. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter if you're 20 or 40, you victimize people, at some point you have to be held accountable, and this is just what's going to happen.
Detective J.D. Nelson, thank you.
Great work.
Fascinating investigation. Unified Police Department. What a crackdown. Thank you for joining us.
If you're listening to this and alarm bells are going off in your head that you bought a vehicle from an individual who had the story that the odometer was just, the digital odometer just kind of gone on the fritz or whatever, and then and you suspect otherwise, you're driving an older vehicle, Unified Police Department needs you to call them. Yeah, I would imagine this would be dangerous too, Dave, if you didn't realize you were driving a vehicle with 250,000 miles on it, right?
Yeah, it's a totally different machine, right? Listen to this number. I just pulled this up on the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration. Approximately 452,000 used cars have false odometer readings. That's a 1 in 29 chance that the used car that you just purchased has had the odometer tampered with.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. If you're an unaffiliated voter living in Congressional District 2, there's still time to affiliate and vote in the Republican primary's special election to replace Congressman Chris Stewart.
If you're already affiliated with a party, you cannot unaffiliate and reaffiliate with the Republican Party. However, for people that are unaffiliated or for new voters that reside within that Congressional District 2 area, they have the opportunity still to affiliate with the Republican Party and receive that ballot.
Salt Lake County Clerk Lanny Chapman says you have until August 25th to get a ballot by mail. After that, you'll need to go in person. Ballots are being mailed out starting tomorrow. New data from Freddie Mac's House Price Index shows Ogden and Provo homes lost more value in 1 year than 90% of the country. One reason is sellers don't want to buy a new house and double their current interest rates. Another is that there's a lack of affordable housing inventory. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden has traveled to the sites of natural disasters around the country, looking now like he might go to Hawaii after the devastating wildfires there. ABC's Jay O'Brien has more.
When asked if he planned to travel to Maui to survey wildfire damage, the president telling reporters, quote, "We're looking at it." It comes after he signed a federal disaster declaration last week, freeing up funds for the island. The FEMA administrator also on the ground in Hawaii on Friday, along with a surge of federal resources, including FEMA urban search and rescue teams and cadaver dog crews from California and Washington. Jay O'Brien, ABC News, the White House.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average, just barely above, well, actually it slipped down below the 0 point now, down half of 1%, half of 1 point rather. The NASDAQ is down 104, or is up. NASDAQ up 104 points at this hour. And our KSL weather is next. It looks like hot weather for the next several days. KSL News Time, 11:33.
Early mornings can be hard enough, just getting yourself going.
We try to make it a little easier with news and weather from comfortable, trusted anchors and reporters.
Join us on Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9
on KSL News Radio.
Is shopping for medical supplies online leaving you feeling intimidated and overwhelmed? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. I want to share a real customer story with you.
The moment I walked into Alpine, I felt cared for. They pulled me into a private room, and the Alpine professional happily set up my CPAP machine, explaining everything I needed to know. The service didn't stop there. After I went home, Alpine called me a week later just to check on me. These guys really are the experts. Before Alpine, I was so stressed trying to navigate what I needed online by myself, but all the stress went away when I went to their store. They really do deserve 5 stars.
We know when you walk through our doors, you deserve to be cared for. Stop by any of our 11 locations and discover the Alpine Home Medical difference. When you need assistance, we're here for you.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
AlpineHomeMedical.com.
You know, in Box Elder County, they're all about the bucket list. Want to go birding at the premier birding destination in the western United States? Well, check off the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge. How about land art? The spiral jetty and sun tunnels will leave you inspired. Or stand on the spot where the Union and Central Pacific Railroads joined and forged the destiny of a nation. Yep, Golden Spike National Historical Park is like no other place. Check. Splash, boat, camp, or fish your day away? Willard Bay State Park will guarantee a good time. Soak in a natural hot spring with the highest mineral content in the world? That would be Crystal Hot Springs. You'll feel rejuvenated. Eat at Utah's original steakhouse. Maddox Ranch House is perfection. Check. A 1920s diner. The Idle Owl Cafe will transport you back in time. As you empty your Box Elder County bucket list, you'll find a whole new set of adventures to fill it up again. Fill up your bucket list at visitboxeldercounty.com.
You thought there'd be a real estate crash, didn't you? And you thought you'd be able to buy a house for less money and at a lower interest rate, right? Sorry, the crash didn't happen. You see, there's a shortage of homes in Utah and Idaho, and that's why prices are stable or even going up 5 to 10%. If you keep waiting for the crash, it's just going to cost you more money. That's why you need to get a hold of Rick at loansbyrick.com today. If the going interest rate is 6 to 7%, don't panic. In the next 1 to 2 years, Rick will probably be able to help you refinance your home mortgage below 5%. If you find your dream home, don't wait. Today's interest rate will not be your forever interest rate, and home values will go up. So if you wait to buy it, it will cost you more money in the long run. Here's the guy who can sort it out for you. Rick at loansbyrick.com. Call or text Rick at 801-809-SAVE, 801-809-SAVE, or click loansbyrick.com.
Rick Kirschenbaum, NMLS 241179, and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106 are equal housing lenders. Some restrictions apply.
Don't be worried. Be ready. KSL News Radio is partnering with Be Ready Utah to provide the plans your family needs for an emergency, the tools and supplies to keep on hand, and the knowledge on how to keep a cool head. It's Be Ready Utah. Listen for Be Ready tips and tools each Tuesday with Dave and Dujanovic. Plus, find the latest preparation info at beready.utah.gov. That's beready.utah.gov. Be Ready Utah with KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. Here's Ricky Meese.
It's a multiple vehicle accident in Davis County, southbound I-15 near Center Street in Clearfield as you're approaching 700 South SR 193. Most of the vehicles are out of traffic on the shoulder, but it is causing some delays there. Then in Utah County, we have hazmat on the scene of trouble in traffic. This is eastbound Ranches Parkway at Cedar Fort Road, and it is blocking left lanes of travel. Need tires? Don't buy them without the money-saving Burt Bundle from Burt Brothers Tire and Service. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, hot and dry today and tomorrow with highs in the upper 90s. Thursday's high could reach 100 degrees. We'll see cooler temperatures with a chance of thunderstorms on Friday and into the weekend. And right now, we're at 84 degrees with sunny skies at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top national story.
Parts of Maui are just a disaster zone. That fire that ravaged through the island now has officials in Maui urging tourists to avoid traveling there. They're trying to free up as many hotel rooms as possible for those who've lost their homes, and also first responders who have to get there to help people.
Yeah, the AP is reporting that 46,000 residents and visitors have left since Wednesday. Trying to get away, trying to get out, 46,000. That's a mass exodus.
So the folks in Maui who live there said they're shocked and offended with the number of tourists who are still playing in the waters.
The same waters that our people just died in 3 days ago are the same waters the very next day these visitors, tourists were swimming in. And that says a lot about where their heart and mind is through all of this and where our heart and mind is. You don't see our people swimming, snorkeling, surfing. Nobody is having fun in tragedy and continuing their lives like nothing has happened. There is two Hawaiis right now. There's the Hawaii we're living in and the Hawaii they're living in, they're visiting in.
Joining us right now is Kathy Hurst, manager at Morris Columbus Travel. Kathy, folks in Maui are saying, please, if you have tickets, if you have plans to travel here, please do not. What are you telling your folks that may have trips or plans to travel to Hawaii right now?
Well, what we're telling people is essentially what you're saying is that now is not the time to be going to Maui. Airlines, hotels are being very generous on cancellation policies. Obviously, airlines are letting you change to a different destination or even refund you with no penalty, of course. They are discouraging people from going right now and really even into September. Even if you're not staying, at that West Shore in the Kaanapali area, they are trying to free up resources on the island itself. And even if you're not staying close to that area, things might be affected. And for a long time, shopping, dining, things like that. So now is really not the time to be going to Maui. Change your destination to at least one of the other islands or somewhere else.
Kathy, are there penalties for people who have to change their destination, especially if it's, like beyond the air, the air carrier being, conducive to a quick change? Are there other penalties, though, involved if they do switch?
Well, I've had a lot of people that have trips in October and November ask about it. And right now, most of the hotels are being very flexible. We have a group that actually has space there in October, and they are on the completely opposite side of the island that's not effective at all, and they are not being quite as flexible, but that is late October. So it's just really the individual hotel or Airbnb that people have booked. I would say reach out to them directly, but if if it's something within the next month, I would say that hotels and Airbnbs are being very flexible because things are not going to be right there for at least, I would say, 30 or more days.
Kathy, is it fair to say that a huge portion of the economy in Maui is tourism-based?
Oh, very, very much so. I mean, they were so affected by COVID and, of course, finally recovering and getting back on their feet in the last couple of years. And now it's just going to be very, very hard on the tourism industry in Maui.
Thanks so much for your call and getting us up to speed on what's going there with travel. Are there other, let's say, and I hate to take the business away from Maui if you don't postpone, or if you do postpone that trip, but maybe you need to go because this is your vacation time, Kathy. Are there other countries or other areas of the United States that you recommend people can pivot to for right now?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, none of the other islands are really affected by this. You can still go to Oahu, Kauai, the Big Island. Those, of course, the change fees for that, there might be some fees, like they might charge a fare difference or something like that. And, it may be hard to get last minute space there. So that would be the only challenge you'd have by, let's say you're going in a week or so trying to make a last minute change. So that may be a little bit of struggle if you're trying to, switch to a Hawaiian island. But, of course, you can always look at different destinations in the U.S., like Florida or California, if you want a beach destination. But, check on it just to see if the other islands have an opportunity.
Kathy Hurst, thank you for joining us, manager at Morris Columbus Travel. Thank you.
I also wondered what it's doing for some folks who've had some weddings planned in Maui. Maybe there's some Utah residents. We can talk to them eventually about what their plans are now. But again, being urged not to travel to Maui, it's a disaster there.
Well,
in some areas,
Lahaina is really devastated. It's been decimated. They describe it. It looks like a war zone where it's just been burnt to the ground. But there are areas in Maui that are relatively untouched. But that being said, natives and locals to the area are asking people, please, this is not the time to travel to Hawaii. Jason Momoa, who is a Hollywood actor, Aquaman, Game of Thrones, he shared a video online that I saw, and he said, please, don't convince yourself that your presence is needed on this island that is suffering deeply. He said they need time to heal, grieve, and restore.
I also want to remind our listeners that we here at Bonneville are doing a big fundraiser where 100% of your money will go directly to the Hawaii Community Foundation, which is a nonprofit that is serving those who've been devastated in these wildfires in Maui. And the very, very easy way to find the donation link is just go to KSLNewsRadio.com, and on the upper left corner, there's a big yellow rectangle. You'll see the button right there. Just click on that. It'll walk you through. I did a donation last week when we first announced this effort here at Broadcast House, and it was super simple. It took me under 3 minutes. So we encourage you to do that. And next, our friend from KSL5 TV, who has direct ties to Hawaii, Ashley Moser, calling the show.
Dave and Dujanovic. Before Dave and Debbie get started each day, this station is all news, all morning.
And later today, we follow up on those stories as you drive home.
Get important news all morning and all afternoon.
Here on KSL News Radio.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When words come out of our mouths and everything sounds fine, no one bats an eye. But if things come out a little jumbled or letters sound different than most, there's speech therapy. But did you know that speech therapy is used for more than just stuttering or disfluency? From articulation to expressive and receptive language to a simple act of swallowing that most of us take for granted, speech therapy can do amazing things for you, your health, and of course your sense of self. That's why Summit Speech Therapy is here. Summit Speech Therapy works with people of all ages, from infants and toddlers who have a difficult time feeding or eating, TBI, stroke, or coma patients, to children and adults with speech problems. So much of it is all related, and Summit Speech Therapy can help. Summit works with all insurance companies as well as private pay options, and the experience can be life-changing. With clinics up and down the Wasatch Front, including Murray, with no long waiting for an appointment. For more, visit summitslp.com. That's summitslp.com.
Happy 62nd birthday, Granddad.
Thanks, sweetheart.
I got you this.
A mug. Oh, thank you. What does it say? Beware. If you are 60 or older, you may be at increased risk of hospitalization from RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, compared to adults younger than 60.
Not all dangers come with warning labels. Talk to your pharmacist or doctor about getting vaccinated against RSV today. Learn more at bewareofrsv.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Layton Construction is a nationally ranked commercial contractor. From the George S. and Dolores Dory Eccles Theater to Southern Utah University's Bristlecone Hall, you've probably seen their work before. Vice President of Marketing Tim Garrick tells us more.
Layton Construction has proudly called Utah home for 70 years, and the work that we've done in that time will forever impact the state, its people, and the local business community. Together with our trusted trade partners, we've built the places where hundreds of thousands of Utahns live, where we work and study, where we play, and where we heal. We are most proud, though, that Layton Construction has become synonymous with our core values of integrity, honesty, safety, quality, and unity. These are values that we know are so important here in Utah. These are the same principles that Alan W. Layton instilled in the company in the early years, and they continue to guide us today. Day in and day out, our employees embody the values and work ethic that have sustained our longevity and have fueled tremendous growth. As a result, we've been able to expand our business to become one of the largest builders in the nation. But wherever we go, we remember our roots and strive to really make Utah proud of Layton Construction.
Whether working with a startup or a seasoned operation, a Fortune 500 company or a local municipality, Layton Construction brings quality, transparency, and predictability. For more information, visit the Layton Construction website. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, with the Republican congressional primary coming up, unaffiliated voters have the opportunity to become Republican voters right up until Election Day. It's too late, though, for Democrats and independent voters to make that switch. Second, homes in Provo and Ogden lost more value in the past year than homes in many other areas of the country. And third, President Biden's considering a trip to Hawaii to look at the devastation from the wildfires on Maui. Right now, 84 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
In a moment, we're going to speak with KSL5 Television's Ashley Moser, who is from Oahu and knows people who have just been devastated by the fire on Maui. Of course, Maui now urging tourists, if you just missed our last conversation, to avoid traveling to Maui. They have to keep the hotel rooms freed up for the residents who've lost their homes, and also for first responders who are trying to get help to the folks there.
And the people on Maui are grieving. They're devastated. And I heard this report from the BBC as they were interviewing somebody that lives on Maui, and was shocked at how many tourists are still continuing with their their vacation.
The same waters that our people just died in 3 days ago are the same waters the very next day these visitors, tourists, were swimming in. And that says a lot about where their heart and mind is through all of this, and where our heart and mind is. You don't see our people swimming, snorkeling, surfing. Nobody is having fun in tragedy and continuing their lives like nothing has happened. There is two Hawaiis right now. There's the Hawaii we're living in and the Hawaii they're living in, they're visiting in.
And another rub the salt in the wound moment that I saw, again, all these stories are pouring out of Hawaii. Realtors and investors are already calling up residents that have freshly lost their homes and calling to buy up the land.
West Maui right now is pretty overrun with supplies. We're asking everyone.
Joining us right now is Ashley Moser, who is from Hawaii. Grew up on Oahu. Ashley, thank you for joining us, KSL 5 television anchor. Can you walk us through some of the emotions that you're feeling right now?
Sure. Thank you both so much for having me. It's hard not to cry. We're talking about this because it's just so devastating to see this happen to such a wonderful community. My husband's uncle was one of the many that lost his homes. I have another friend who also lost her home, and so to see them have to rebuild, it's going to be a long journey for all of them. So the good thing that I'm seeing on social media, I'm getting a lot of friends, contacting them. The community is coming together. I mean, you see these donations, you see the funds that are being raised right now in the last couple of days, and it's just amazing to see. It's heartbreaking that I can't be there, but knowing that our coverage is letting people know, even here in Utah, the devastation. It's amazing to see communities across the world come together to support these people who've lost everything.
Where is your husband's uncle right now?
So right now, I talked to him about kind of his escape story. It was hard for him to talk about, and it took a couple of days, and I didn't want to pry, but I asked, can you share some details of what happened? He said throughout the day on Tuesday, when everything started happening, they didn't know to evacuate. There were no alerts, anything that was coming out from, the state about getting out. Until 9 p.m., he and his landlord, they just hunkered down until they made the decision to leave. And so they left. They went to the north side of the island, which is actually a place that you don't really travel. They ended up going north and ended up hooking up with family on the other side of the island. So they have a place to stay. So they're not in a shelter, but they do have a family to stay with. But it's just, they don't know what to do. They don't know what their next steps are. And so, hearing from them and hearing what they've lost, it's heartbreaking.
Ashley Moser grew up in Oahu, has family members on Maui, and the devastation not only to property but the loss of life has been staggering. 96 people have died so far, and then I saw this where only 3% of the disaster area has been searched. Obviously, Hawaii's never seen anything like this on this scale. The mourning and the grief that must be going on, but also the uncertainty of what's next. I know that on Maui specifically, there's so much tourism and there's such a dependence on tourism, but how long it might take to rebuild must just be heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking. And one of the friends that I have that lost her home, she actually works in the tourism industry. She works at a hotel. The hotel was spared. It's just north of Lahaina. And she was saying a lot of these rooms now are going to be going to these families. She herself is staying at the hotel where she works. But again, there are still tourists that are there. And, it's hard to hear these accounts from people on the ground, seeing, SUVs full of tourists kind of enjoying and having, their vacation. And I get it. People save up and this is a place that they, want to be. But it's heartbreaking to hear the locals see so many of these tourists just drive past the devastation to their resorts and continuing to continue with life, really. So it's heartbreaking. But again, Maui's going to need all the help that they can get. And, a thought came to my mind this weekend. If we can support Maui through the tourism industry, I wonder if we can just go to the other islands. Like if there's a way to just promote tourism on the other islands, so that the pandemic really impacted tourism. So we don't need to see that again. But if there's a way to continue to bring, people to the state, but have them enjoy the other islands while Maui is dealing with such devastation.
Yeah, Ashley, when I hear that tourists are going about their vacation and swimming in the ocean, where many people lost their lives as they were trying to flee that fire last week, I just think that's just it's selfish. It's selfish, and I'm sorry that people feel like just because they spent money on a vacation, they still need to bear down and take their whole family to an area that is dealing with death, destruction, some 2,700 structures destroyed. There's also, Dave was speaking to this earlier, real estate and agents and investors already making calls to buy up the land. I want to listen to this, and I want to get your reaction to that.
Okay, I got to tell you guys, I am so frustrated with investors and realtors calling the families who lost their home, offering to buy their land. How dare you do that to our community right now? Since yesterday, that multiple families that I know personally were reached out and offered money from investors and realtors. Shame on you.
Ashley, one of the most beautiful places on earth. But even at that, I was just shocked to hear these stories of investors trying to capitalize on such tragedy.
And this is a fight that has been, the locals have been fighting for decades. This is a theme that, so many have seen throughout the years of our homes, our multi-generational homes being bought up, and big high rises are built right on top. And so to hear that investors, realtors are already jumping in, it just makes me sick. I haven't heard that personally. I've seen that post on social media, and you just want to believe it's not true. But if there are so many accounts coming forward, there has to be truth to it. It just makes me sick. So I hope that, and I saw the rest of that post, she was saying, whoever's getting this, whoever's calling, make sure you record them, make sure you get their name. We're going to put them on blast because this isn't right. And I agree. It's heartbreaking. So soon after, not even a week after this devastation, you're hearing people trying to capitalize on new land.
Yeah, and they haven't recovered all the deceased yet. They haven't even. It's going to take so much time. There's going to have to be DNA matches done, and we know right now the death toll just shy of 100 people, but growing every day. And Ashley, I know you shared it on your social media. I've shared it on social media as well. But remind our listeners how they can help right now if they want to.
Thank you so much. And so many families, right, impacted. I have my husband's uncle and his cousin. They escaped Lahaina on Tuesday. They have a Venmo out, and there are a lot of pages out there that are sharing these family Venmos. Hector Hernandez 972, Chazzy D Castillo Hernandez. Those are my family members. There are places that you can donate right now on KSLTV.com. You can go and donate, and those funds go straight to the people who need them. So I appreciate you guys doing the coverage, and, just the prayers. They need it, and they need all of us to keep them in our prayers and remember that this is not just going to take a couple of days to get over. This is weeks, years. It's going to be a long road.
Ashley Moser, thank you for sharing your insight and your story, KSL 5 television anchor.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Yeah, Ashley, not only an excellent journalist, but also just a beautiful person, a beautiful addition to our newsroom, and we want to do everything we can as listeners to support her family members, friends, everybody who has been devastated